very dangerous sport, and Supercross is even more dangerous.
The biggest challenge for the pit crew is to be prepared to deal with anything that comes up on very short notice.
This is what separates the men from the boys, that's for sure.
Supercross is motocross racing taken to the extreme. It is highly competitive, extremely dangerous, and one of the most exciting forms of racing in the world. Derived from its grassroots outdoor cousin, motocross, Supercross events are always held at night, inside super domes with live music, big money corporate sponsorship, and national television audiences. Motocross races are held outdoors. The tracks are wide, and the races are 35 minutes long. Supercross races are only 15 minutes in length, and their tracks are tighter and narrower, making them more technically demanding. Only the best riders in top physical condition with an unquenchable thirst for adrenaline make it to this level of motocross racing. Each high-flying, man-made indoor track is created specifically for each mega event. This weekend, 60,000 screaming fans have come to the Montreal Olympic Stadium to watch the best riders in North America do battle for $45,000. Big money for professional dirt bike racers. In both Supercross and Motocross, professional riders run in one of two classes. MX1 is the bigger 450cc dirt bike class, while MX2 is the smaller 250cc class. This summer, after a 3-month season of outdoor motocross racing, one team clearly dominated Canada's National Motocross Championship Series. Here in Montreal, Team Blackfoot Honda is riding high after completing a series that saw them take the top 3 spots in both professional divisions. MX1 national champion Dusty Klatt, multi-time motocross champion and snowcross superstar Blair Morgan, and MX2 Western champion Jimmy Nelson are certainly the poster boys of the Blackfoot team. The men behind this superstar team are the pit crew. With the Canadian motocross season now wrapped up for another year, Blackfoot team manager Joe Skid and his crew have assembled in Montreal for this one-off Supercross event to help the team win the cash prize.
Montreal race is really cool. It's probably the most unique race in all of Canada. 50 or 60,000 people, fans in attendance. I don't even know how much it holds really, but you get 60,000 Frenchmen just screaming. It's probably the loudest race I've ever been to.
This is the last event of the year for the Blackfoot team, and with $45,000 up for grabs, the pit crew has to have the bikes prepared for peak performance. Supercross is all about preparation. These specialized high-performance bikes are so well set up before they even reach the track that they rarely need more than a dusting off and a tire change prior to a race weekend. Pit crews are minimal, traditionally one mechanic per bike. With little mechanical work to do at the track, the crew often act as both personal mechanics and trackside coaches.
Motocross is largely about the rider. Once the bike is set, the rest of it's up to the rider. So things that could be going on today that aren't would be different gearing changes. I guess because we've been to this racetrack with these Hondas, for 5 years in a row, we've got a solid baseline, so there's a lot less guesswork going on. We know what kind of dirt there is because every year it's the same dirt, and we've been testing with suspensions, so we know what the settings are there. So basically a lot of the work is done ahead of time. Biggest challenge for the pit crew is to be prepared to deal with anything that comes up on very short notice. There's not a lot of time in between events. If we had any sort of mechanical failure due to a crash, like it's a pretty physical world out there. It's a tight track, a lot of bikes on it. Could easily get run over, lose a radiator, bend some handlebars. It can get ugly mechanically. And you basically have to be prepared to deal with anything on short notice, and it means that you've got to have your wits about you and understand where all your spare parts are and the fastest way to get things back on track.
My personal mechanic is Anthony Turner. Not only does he just work on the bike, he just knows like jetting and just the way the motor works and suspension. He actually has his own suspension franchise, so having somebody like that to be your mechanic is a bonus. And like there's so many people involved, behind the scenes. It's they don't get the recognition like the riders do. We're out there, we're getting all the TV time and stuff like that, but there's just a lot of guys behind the scenes helping us out.
I look after all the administrative duties of the team, back in the office on the finance side, and also dealing with sponsors and riders and coordinating all the efforts to make sure that everyone arrives at an event such as this on time and with all the equipment needed, and make sure that we deal with all the logistical issues as they come up on a regular basis. His luggage might not even show up today, right?
Yeah.
So if his luggage doesn't show up today...
Okay, so we need to take Jimmy down there right now to try the boots on, and we probably have a set of knee pads as well. So.
Okay, awesome, thanks.
I'm a truck driver.
No, yeah.
That's your van?
That's the van, but they're gonna tow it right away if you don't go in the...
I'll deal with it.
One of our riders came from the U.S., Jimmy Nelson, and he had problems at the airport last night, and they lost his bag. So obviously it's pretty important when you have a helmet on your head, boots on your feet. So we were rushing around today, but we were able to find a local dealer that were able to hook us up with a pair of boots that we use, as our distributors nowhere near Montreal, so we'd never get it here in time. But the boots are in a cab and on their way here.
Basically, so far today, we've basically unloaded, set up shop down in the pits. Today, there's just going to be 2 practices consisting, I think they're only going to be about 10 or 15 minutes each. So I don't even think we're going to set it down. We'll probably just base ourselves out of the trailer and just bring the bikes down when it's time. This year, we brought to Montreal with us Dusty Klatt. He is our new MX1 champion as of this year. So he's here running the number 9. We've also brought with us Blair Morgan. He's on the number 7 machine. Also on the MX1 is Jimmy Nelson. He's running the number 42 machine. He is our MX2 number 1 West champion. He is riding the MX1. And we got a new rider, Brady Sharon. He'll be with us running number 611.
I usually take a little walk. We get the riders out. Obviously the riders come and look at lines, but what I kind of look at is try to see if there's anything in it that might be a safety concern, such as a corner that may be coming into another one too tight, or lines that look like it's a very high speed technical section with another one right beside it where someone could go off the course and interfere. So you look for certain parts of the track that could cause problems, more of a safety concern rather than a technical concern. The riders are looking at it from different lines to see, where can I go here and there, but we look at it from mainly safety concerns and things like that. So there's always something you need to be looking out for, because sometimes things need to be looked at from a rider's perspective, and a rider can usually deal with some stuff, but then there's some parts that just straight out aren't safe. So. You can see up into the mezzanine area, they kind of go off into the back, and then they come flying back out of here. So it's kind of unique. These are called rhythm sections here. So there's a lot of different lines and options for the rider, whether it be double in, triple in. So this is where they would walk and take a look at the different lines and see in their mind what would be the smoothest and fastest line through a different obstacle in a section. So there's different ways to look at it. Sometimes what may be the fastest isn't the safest, and all it takes is a little bit of mistiming for them to be out. So that's where the judgment's called into it. You'll probably see a lot of 1, the passes, and 2, the crashes in this section here, because of the fact that there's so many different various lines that you can actually approach this section. And this is what separates the men from the boys, that's for sure.
It's currently 10-1. Practice is starting in about 10 minutes. I got to set sag on the bike. I gotta wait for the rider to come to me and get on the bike with all his race gear and everything, his full weight while he's gonna be out on the track. That's what we need to basically set the sag, the race sag, or it's basically a preload, so we can compress the spring so it works properly for him while he's out on the track. The sooner he gets here, the better it's gonna be. Mechanics are just glorified babysitters. Just gotta set your sag. Jeff, you got a sec to hold the handlebars?
These aluminum framed dirt bikes are so light that a rider's body weight has a major effect on how it handles. At this level of pro racing, the suspension on each bike is adjusted just prior to each track session. When a rider mounts his machine, the suspension will compress under his weight. This is called the sag. Sag takes up the suspension travel, that is, the suspension remaining to absorb bumps and jumps. To compensate for this, mechanics adjust the stiffness of the rear shock so the rider's weight will create less sag and leave more suspension travel for the rough terrain. It's part science, part black magic, because if the mechanic removes too much sag, the bike suspension will become too stiff, turning one finely tuned piece of machinery into a bouncing ball.
Okay, we'll start off with that. Qualifying system for today, they're taking lap times with the transponders and they're going to be eliminating a few people. So the people that get eliminated obviously are going to be sitting out for the rest of the weekend, and the rest of the people will be riding again tomorrow. During practice I will be basically there to make sure the bike is cool. If anything needs to be set up or changed, I'm there to do that, so I got my tools with me.
We're just getting ready for our first free practice. Start to shake down the original bugs. This is the first time we've been on a Supercross track since the spring. So we've got one guest rider on our team. We've got our veteran Dusty Klatt, and we're just about to go out and see where we stand with the practice. We're going to be looking for suspension balance, engine performance, engine response, and the ability for the guys to get around the track as fast as possible. It's a big package. We're going to be looking at all of it.
Practice for the MX2 bikes serves two purposes. As this class has no qualifying sessions, riders' fastest laps are recorded by the organizers and are used as qualifying times. Practice also gives the riders a chance to learn the track and find the fastest lines around it. A Supercross track is tough, fast, and because it's man-made, can be very technical. The Blackfoot riders are all well-seasoned motocross riders and are used to outdoor tracks with their wider lanes. The Blackfoot riders will try to make the most of all 4 practice sessions over the next few days to get accustomed to this more challenging racing environment. Each year, there are only 2 Supercross races held in Canada. These are one-off special events that attract the best competitors from all across North America. Number 9, Dusty Klatt, who usually rides in the bigger MX1 class, has chosen this weekend to ride in the MX2 class as well. This gives him double the track time over his competitors. Dusty is hoping this extra track time will give him a jump on the rest of the competition. Also on track is Brady Sharon. He's been invited by Blackfoot to ride this event on a tryout basis. Clearly, he's giving it his all. Also on track is the kid, number 611, Brady Sharon. Brady is working through a minor suspension setup issue, but it does not slow him down for long.
Everything went quite smoothly. Dusty, I think, turned in the fastest lap times there. Brady, who's our guest rider, he had a few issues with his suspension, which is one of the components on the bikes that's not taken care of by our team just because of this special arrangement. Anyway, we managed to make a few adjustments to Brady's bike to make him a little bit more comfortable. He was having some issues in the whoops. And we made a small adjustment and brought it forward a little bit, discussed the situation after the practice, made another small change for the second practice.
As soon as the MX2 practice is over, it's almost immediately time for the MX1 session. The mechanics busily prepare the bikes. The engines must be thoroughly warmed and the sag set. These MX-1 high-performance dirt bikes are the top class in motocross racing. Only the best riders in the country have what it takes to compete in this category, and the cream of the crop ride for Blackfoot. Number 9, Dusty Klatt, is now on track for the second time today. This time on the bike he used to win the CMRC National Championship. On this big gun, he is the undisputed top dog in Canada. Number 7, Blair Morgan, is 10 years Dusty's senior and one of the most seasoned riders on the motocross circuit. Morgan's skill and experience make him a consistent contender at every race.
Blair's a solid rider. He's definitely a seasoned professional. He's got a method for dissecting the track and taking care of what he needs to do to be prepared. We're looking definitely for a strong top 10 finish out of Blair.
Klatt's lap times are at the top of the heap when suddenly things take a turn for the worse. Supercross is the most physically demanding sport on the planet. Not only do you have to ride each race flat out for 20 minutes, but you have to be able to shake off the pounding your body endures each time you ride.
Did anybody see that crash take place? What happened to him? Yeah, Joe, I saw just the tail end of it. He just kind of clipped that last jump with the front wheel, kind of high-sided.
The first MX-1 practice, all three of our guys were in the same session. Dusty Klatt had two separate little incidents. One was, he called it just a stupid mistake, where he clipped a wheel off of a jump and ended up on the ground, scratched up his belly a little bit. Doesn't seem to be much more serious than that. And the other thing is, in one of the corners there's a solid cement pylon that's there to mark the inside corner of the track. And at the time it was unprotected by any hay bales or rubber or anything like that. Normally tomorrow the track will be much further prepared than today. So I suspect tomorrow there'll be lots of hay bales or tires wrapped around the cement pillar. Today there wasn't. He tipped it into the corner. His hand came in contact with the cement and the lever, and he's got a pretty sore finger right now.
The fucking hit the cement barrier and the fucking hose on my hand.
Okay, how about your ribs?
Oh, ribs are fine. It's just scrapes. Yeah. Yep. I'd tell you if I was in bad pain.
Other riders basically did their laps, felt comfortable with their bikes, and everybody's feeling good, looking forward to the next practice. There's no real intense personal rivalries. Like, it's not Dusty against Jimmy. In fact, they're in there discussing how to get through the whoops together. So I think for our team, it's a team. We're a group of guys that work together to try to go as fast as we can, and I think most of the guys, as far as the riders go, accept that whoever's going good on the day gets the position. And for sure, it's way more beneficial for each of them to work together than to try to oppose one another, because you're stronger in numbers, you know. And with that kind of respect in the truck, the guys, you know, it's not dangerous racing together. You're going to get a fair deal, and we're, you know, with three guys on the line, we're the biggest team out there. And it's way better to have 3 friends than 3 enemies. You know, there's enough enemies out there. So you see more cooperation here than you would, let's say, in other circumstances.
With 2 practice sessions now complete, both the riders and their machines have been refueled. And it's time now to go over this morning's results.
Come on, Jimmy, pin it.
That's the only difference.
Yeah, 1 minute.
It's
and
from
Yeah.
59.2 to 1 minute.
Yeah.
Oh, so
You put one hot one. You put one hot one in.
Yeah.
And then
This off the start.
that. No. That and that off the in the whoops. If you did the whoops, that's 1 second for sure. Guaranteed a second, if not 2.
Yeah.
So if you need, just, I don't know, to where if you feel comfortable, just follow someone through, or I don't know, just try it.
I'll just try. I was getting better towards the end.
Yeah. But don't think about it. Just shut the brain off. And that's what I do every day at 8 o'clock. No, you're doing good though. That's not far off at all. Like, look at that.
Yeah.
And then for 250F, guys, we got Darcy Lange with a 1 minute, half second, and Dusty's like 0.4 of a second behind that. But the thing is, Dusty's second fastest lap is almost a second lap faster than his. So he was putting them in consistent with the 250F. And then we got Brady is at 8th at a 1:04. So he's basically 4 seconds off. So that's where we're at. He's just getting used to the bike and stuff, so it's all good. First one doesn't really count for too much, but we're all there.
Today's a pretty casual day. It's actually the first time in the 5 years that we've been here that there's been a Friday practice. Normally we just come in on Saturday and do the whole thing. So today's pretty casual actually. It'll be a continuation of the same, just more looking at the suspension. The track's going to be a little rougher now. There's been quite a bit of activity. We'll go down in a few minutes, see what the track's like, and deal with whatever comes our way.
Yeah, you're doing good, man. You look really good out there everywhere. So. I guess just like Dusty, maybe talk to those guys about.
Yeah, I was talking to him.
What's that?
So I was talking to him about some stuff.
He'll be fine. At least you know that the suspenders will hold you up.
Yeah. The bike feels good.
Yeah, you feel it?
I feel good everywhere except for the whoops, and that's just me. It's not the bike.
Yeah. Okay. Well, good.
Hey, you look pretty good out there, actually. Thank you.
In the last MX2 practice of the day, Team Blackfoot continues to dominate the field. The pit crew keeps a close eye on how the riders are dealing with the more technical sections of the track. Tomorrow the landscape will dramatically change, as they will be facing off against several American riders that have far more Supercross experience. The team needs to get the pace and timing down pat before tomorrow's main event. MX1 practice follows immediately, and the Blackfoot riders are on pace and flying high. Blair Morgan seems to have found his groove and shows how years of experience can sometimes be more of an advantage than the brash aggressiveness of youth.
Wow, that's awesome. 4th. Good for you. Exactly.
So we got 3 guys in the top 6.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
That'll do.
That'll do. That's something to write home about.
We have a really good idea of where we stand against the competition right now. Jimmy Nelson is 4th fastest, which is a better result than I expected. In the MX2 class, Dusty is a second clear of his next competitor, so things are looking good there. In the MX1 class, Dusty is 1/10 of a second behind the leader, which is one of the Americans that they brought up to try and win the thing. And Blair Morgan is 6th. In the MX1 class, we've got 3 riders in the top 6. And our guest rider, Brady Sharon, in MX2 is 5th fastest, so we've got 2 guys in the top 5.
These riders are ready. I'm just going to take them back to the hotel right now.
Okay.
Get them all prettied up and stuff.
Yeah, you better do something about yourself, too.
Tomorrow morning will more or less be a repeat of today with more practice sessions. The program, the show, starts at 7:30 tomorrow night, and they pack everything into the show. All of the qualifiers are in the show, and then the main events are the show. So between 7:30 tomorrow night and 10:30, it's all going to happen in both classes. So things are going to be moving along at quite a pace.
It is race day, and the Blackfoot team have moved their pits to the underground paddock located in the belly of the Olympic Stadium. Here, the teams have set up temporary work areas to prepare their bikes for tonight's main event. Though the entire Blackfoot team is focused on tonight's race, there is something else on their minds. Their lucrative 7-year corporate sponsorship deal with Honda is coming to a close.
Blackfoot's been together with Honda from a racing point of view for 7 years, and for whatever reason Honda's going to steer their boat a little bit differently next year, and the racing isn't going to be as big of a program for them, and so our contract hasn't been renewed for next year, so this is effectively Blackfoot's last race with Honda. Regardless of the future, we're under contract to succeed at this race, and that's what we intend to do. It's part of the contract, so we're here in full colors with lots of bikes, and basically in racing you're only as good as your last race, and we fully intend on leaving our mark and coming out of this hopefully with a couple of wins. When they come past the mechanics area, there's a left and then there's a right, and there's a rhythm section there with quite a few different combination possibilities, and that's where Dusty is going to be creative, let's say.
Dusty's got a lot of BMX experience. He's actually a pro caliber BMXer, and his BMX experience lends to his creativity on the track, and I think you'll see him reinvent the track a little bit. Jimmy is quite new to this motorcycle, and yesterday with him getting 4th was pretty impressive. So if all goes well, he stays right there or maybe even goes forward a little bit. Blair is a pretty steady guy. He's definitely going to be working on his speed. He'll probably do it in different ways than Dusty will. Blair will be looking at his lines, he'll be working hard on the brakes, and he'll be looking to be consistent. He's going to be pushing for lap time, and I wouldn't mind having our guys be 1, 2, 3 by the end of this session.
The MX1 class will have one short practice session today. The riders randomly select a gate to get a feel for the surface in the starting area before taking a final opportunity to learn the track's technical rhythm section. The boys from Blackfoot go to work. Dusty Klatt has amazingly managed to pick up his pace from yesterday. At 21 years of age, Klatt is in prime physical condition for Supercross racing. Strong, fast, and agile. He's finding solid lines around the track and has managed to conquer the bike-swallowing rhythm section, while others continue to crumble under its sheer size and complexity. Blair Morgan, as predicted, has put his years of experience to work and has dissected the Supercross track from every angle. His lap times today are not quite on par with Dusty's, but still he's ranked solidly in the top 10. Even young Jimmy Nelson seems to have conquered his new 450cc Honda and is in contention for tonight's MX1 race. This means all the Blackfoot riders will be competing in tonight's main events. With all of the Supercross practice now wrapped for the day, the riders and their pit crew head back to the pits to reflect on what they've learned. During a Supercross event, the pit crew's job is to not only make sure that the bikes are running at their peak performance, but also to make sure that the riders are doing the same. Though he's riding very well for his first time on the bigger MX1 machine, like many riders, Jimmy Nelson is his own toughest critic. As a result, it's up to pit crew member Dean Thompson to make sure that Jimmy's in a positive frame of mind for tonight's final race.
That's the way it goes. Dial it in, get it done. So main thing is now we got a couple hours, we got a 3-hour break, and go back out there at 7 o'clock for the main show, and Dusty's got the section dialed in, so we got it. The other boys are tripling in and looking pretty smooth, so it's all good. Mission accomplished. Yeah, exactly. Oh, pretty much.
As race time approaches, the hardcore Supercross fans take the opportunity to tour through the pit area and take a behind-the-scenes look at what happens in the makeshift pits. As the clock counts down to the race start, the risks associated with this sport are never far from the minds of the pit crew.
Dangers of a moto? Well, just last year I saw a guy die right on the track. Geez, he came off a jump and got a little squirrely and crashed due to it, but everything's happened so fast in motocross. By the time they were able to get a yellow flag out, another rider was coming over the same jump he did and landed right on him. Motocross is a very dangerous sport, and Supercross is even more dangerous, I have to say, because everything is so technical. You know, there's a lot of jumps. You don't have time to fall asleep, you know, snooze even for a second. You have to be 100% mentally there.
During a Supercross race, the mechanics use a pit board to communicate lap times and position within the field to their riders. Jimmy Nelson's mechanic is new to Supercross and needs to be debriefed on tonight's game plan.
We'll coach you along, buddy.
For the pit board, it's our only communication with the rider. There's no radios or anything, no communication with the riders. So it's the one time per lap that the rider gets information. The type of information that he gets depends on what's happening. So the pit board is really, you fly it by the seat of your pants. If you, for example, when Blair was riding tight, it's if you spot it, get it on the pit board in time to tell him to relax, loosen up. There's a countdown of laps because it's only 6 laps out there. Also to let him know what position he's in. Like obviously when Dusty caught everybody in and passed for the lead, he knew he was there. So that, but for him to know that he was in 12th and how many guys he had ahead of him, then he was in 6th and then he was in 2nd, he needed to know that stuff. So it's information that you prioritize as the race progresses.
Final qualifying for the MX1 race is tonight's show opener at the Montreal Supercross. The competitors will be divided up into 3 heat races, and only the riders that finish in the top 10 in their heat will be able to compete in the MX1 main event. This do-or-die qualifying format in MX1 only adds to the pressure Jimmy's feeling.
Dusty and Jimmy are here to have a look at their gates also. Pretty fair gate. Gate's pretty fair all the way around. That one's right there in the middle. Hey, did you ditch those funky goggles with the wings on them to the old style? Because it's those ones that always let the dirt in. You might want to think about having the other ones for the main event.
Yeah.
Because it's those that are the
I was in a
chronic
rush
ones.
to get down.
Huh?
I was in a rush to get down, so.
Yeah. What do you think? They're all pretty fair, huh?
Yeah.
I think you're better off over here, even if there is a crowd beside you, but you know what? Now's the time to try. You know, main event. That's a nice straight shot, and it gives you a chance to line up a little bit on the angle also. So that's not a bad thing for sure. I'm going to see what I can get away with here on the other side of the gate and see it just to make sure that there's nothing too greasy. They're probably going to attack me here. The dirt is perfect. There's no issues. There's nothing too greasy.
Riders are back to the gate.
Yeah, it's all set. There's nothing too greasy on the other side.
In the first MX1 heat, Blackfoot riders Jimmy Nelson and Dusty Platt will be facing off against more than 30 other competitors for a starting line position in the main event. These qualifying sessions are short, fast, and furious. This is definitely a make-or-break proposition.
Jimmy. P11 for Jimmy, P11.
Both Jimmy Nelson and Dusty Klatt have qualified for tonight's MX1 final. Dusty took the hotly contested heat race, finishing in first place, while Jimmy finished 10th, just squeaking into the final.
Hey Pete, make sure Dusty eats something. He's on the MX2 at 9 o'clock, but he's got to keep his food up, so make sure he gets a banana or something into him.
In the second qualifying heat, it's Blackfoot superstar Blair Morgan's turn to strut his stuff. This weekend, Morgan has been consistently strong in his practice sessions, but now the pressure to perform is very real.
They're holding each other up. Sorby's all over Blair though. Nice to see Blair move up. Blair's on it, man. He's on it. He's left Sorby.
Blair Morgan placed 10th in his heat race as well. This despite having crashed while out of view from his pit crew. He managed to remount and catch the rest of the field. 10th is not where Morgan would have liked to finish, but it's good enough to put him in the starting gate for tonight's big final.
Oh man, the hardest couple laps. So slippery.
You're running 12 in that?
It's really loose. They worked it up a lot. It's no harbor park patch.
It's different now. And they're going to redo it at the intermission also, so it'll be loose again. So.
Yeah, that front tire's not cooking up at all.
Okay. Fuck. You were ahead of him when you kind of went down, right?
The front just pushed right off.
Yeah. Well, it was a pretty aggressive move because you're going to the inside, right? And you were on the gas, but anyway,
They're
good
all
job.
like right there, hey?
Yeah. Oh, you caught up big time, and you like in one lap you gapped Sorby like 4 seconds, and you were right there. So good job. Looks good for the main. I'm a little bit of a crusty old bastard because I've actually been doing this for 20 years. So I was actually a mechanic for the rider that won this event in 1986. So I guess that's probably one of my strengths, is the fact that things happen in slow motion a little bit for me, so I don't get that excited about too many things. But it's a gas. Like the show itself is, you know, you got 54, 55,000 people going mental for the show, and the guys are riding great. You know, I've got the highest profile team with the best riders. There's no question that it's satisfying. You know, it's that part of it's really cool. But as far as getting the job done goes and all that, it's kind of another day at the office. Yeah.
We're going 6, 7, 8, 9. You better get going outside here. Oh, dude. You got it anyways. Good job.
The Blackfoot mechanics now have a very small window of time to go over the bikes before tonight's big race.
We're going to check the spokes, check the tire pressure, bleed the air out of the front forks, fastener check. Basically everything's ready to go, no real changes to speak of. Just check things over, making sure everything's good for the race.
We're just about to start the 125, or better known as the Lights, the MX2. Depends on who you talk to class. So basically it's the 254-stroke class. We have Dusty Klatt and Brady Sharon are two riders in this. This is the main event, so it comprises of a 10-lap main event. So we're feeling pretty good. Dusty just went out and won his qualifier on the big bike, so we're feeling pretty good, confident about it. So we're looking for good things. Main thing, obviously, in a short race like this is the start. So obviously, we're focusing on making sure that we get out of the gate in front. So we take a hard charge for the first couple laps, get up front, and just ride our own race, and hopefully be up on the box at the end of the day.
Before each final race, the Supercross track is groomed and watered. For the competitors, this means that the track conditions can be very different from the last time they rode it. It is the pit crew's job to scout the track just prior to the race and report report back to the riders any areas of the course that may have changed due to the grooming.
Like the corner before entering, like after the big long straightaway at Mechanics Row, that corner's been watered substantially. And then also the corner coming into the finish line, the left-hand sweeper has also got a decent amount of water in it. So just be aware of that.
Unlike outdoor motocross circuits, Supercross tracks built inside Superdomes are very narrow. This makes it extremely difficult for the riders to pass one another. One of the most important factors in winning a final is the start. Just prior to a race, riders and their mechanics compact the dirt by their starting gate with their boots in an effort to get better traction off the start. It is also important that nothing obstructs the gate when it drops. It is the mechanic's responsibility to make sure that no rocks get in the way as it drops to the ground.
5 seconds.
P13 for Brady, P13.
With a weak start, Brady Sharon is in 13th place.
That triple, he's down. Going again or what?
No, he's kicking the bike. Here he goes. He's going now.
See what happens here. I don't think he's going to give up.
While Brady is riding strong in 13th position, Dusty has crashed but has managed to restart his bike and rejoin the race.
He's got to find a rhythm in this section here because this is where he crashed.
Brady has now found his rhythm and starts to move up in the field. Dusty has overcome his get-off and is now mounting a come-from-behind charge. Brady has moved up into 5th place, while Dusty is now held up in 7th. Frustrated by the slower lap riders ahead of him.
He's got a lot of really slow guys in front of him. He's had a really hard time getting around these guys.
At the finish, the team's MX2 results disappoint the pit crew.
Holman 3rd, Tremblay 4th, 5th Brady, 6th Dubé, 7th Dusty. 1 lap to go. Brady 6, Dusty 7. Bummer, but at least they're both safe. Well, let Dusty concentrate on this MX1 now. Good job, boys.
With rookie Brady Sharon finishing in a respectable 6th place in the MX2 final, and reigning Canadian champion Dusty Klatt finishing right behind him in a disappointing 7th, the Blackfoot team heads back to the pits to prepare for the main event, the MX1 final.
Taste it, and then you're like pop to the next one, and
get that out of your mind and get focused on the other thing, you'll be fine.
Yeah, pretty much.
Cool? I'd pat you on the back, but you're pretty greasy right now.
I don't blame.
So unfortunately, it didn't work out as planned today. Brady got a good start. He was in, I think, 5th position and ended up finishing in 6th. So, you know, we went 6th and 7th. Obviously not what we came to do, but that's racing. And now we just kind of regroup and not think on it too much, because the more you think about it, the more you get your nerves up and the anxiety. So what we're just doing is, you know, moving on to the next race, which is the MX1, the big bike class, where Dusty's also in. So he showed in his qualifier that he's able to do it, get out in front and lead the race. So we're going to go back out and do it all over again.
The promotional team behind the Montreal Supercross have brought in some additional dirt-friendly sports in an effort to get the crowd pumped up. Some of the top freestyle motocross riders from across North America have dropped in to fire up the fans. However, the headline act, the event that everyone has come to see, is the 450cc MX1 Supercross Final. Finally, it's time for the main event, and emotions are riding high. With hundreds of thousands of television viewers watching from around the continent, and the future of the Blackfoot team on the line, the pressure on the entire team is off the charts. The riders and the pit crew know that the start will be the key to winning this race. And with only 15 laps to the checkered flag, there is no room for error. Effective communication through the pit board will be vital, and each rider will face their own personal challenges. Jimmy Nelson must come to terms with the raw power of his new 450cc bike. Dusty Klatt must regain his focus and put his 6th place finish in the MX2 race behind him. And Blair Morgan will have to gather up his years of experience in order to defeat the field of young, hungry riders. Sensing the tension, the seasoned pit crew attempts to lighten the mood and encourages the riders to enjoy this special moment in the Supercross spotlight.
Come on, you can do it. Crack a smile.
Stick your nose, stick your nose.
Oh, you're too professional. I'll get fired.
5 boards up.
In the MX1 final, Dusty Klatt gets a picture-perfect start and charges off into the lead. By contrast, Jimmy is struggling.
Where's Jimmy? What's Jimmy's position now? Drop way back here. Just tell Jimmy just to have fun. Blair's on it.
Meanwhile, the veteran rider Blair Morgan has settled into a comfortable groove and is solidly in 5th place.
Really good ride for Blair there. Some traffic coming up here that we're going to take care of.
As a charging Dusty Klatt starts to lap slower riders, there are several tense moments for the pit crew. They know that in racing, crashes often occur when faster riders attempt to pass less experienced, unpredictable competitors.
laps to go also, 2 laps to go.
Fight back.
With 2 laps to the finish, Dusty Klatz still leads the field. Blair Morgan is in 5th, while Jimmy Nelson has been relegated to last.
Last lap playing out, guys, last lap.
Got half a lap to make this stick.
Hey Pete, what's your cut on this? That's a good paycheck for the boy. Good job. Hey Slim. Boy. Good job. Dean. Good job. Way to go.
Oh, man. It's been a blast. It's been a blast.
The MX1 Supercross race is yet another victory for Dusty Klatz. Took the lead right from the drop of the starting gate and never looked back. Dusty finished with a 15-second lead over his nearest competitor by systematically turning lap times that were on average 2 seconds faster than any other rider. Meanwhile, Blair Morgan crossed the finish line in a respectable 5th place, while Jimmy Nelson's fall left him to cross the finish line last.
You rode well, so don't worry about it. Don't stress out. It's all good, man. You don't hold your bike. You can just go in and get changed. Don't sweat it, buddy. As long as you had some fun.
Jimmy had a learning experience. It was his first Supercross on a 450, so chalk that one up to experience. And yeah, congratulations to Blair for the 5th and Dusty for the win. It's a bittersweet feeling. You know, it's great to go out on top. It's definitely the end of an era with Blackfoot and Honda, but I choose to remain optimistic that somebody's going to pick up the team, and myself and my crew are highly motivated to ensure success for anybody that joins us.
How's that feel? Yeah. Yeah,
So good.
Exactly. Dude, you rode like a champ there, buddy. Perfect way to go out.
You got to kind of treat it as a lifestyle almost. You make a lot of sacrifices, but at the same time, it's a very fulfilling job. It's exciting.
Negative, 50th lap.
If you're not trying hard, you don't win races.
We need to have a good result here to get him back on top, and this will be the place to do it, being his home race.
Red flag, hit this lap.
To get the most out of your driver, you really need to understand what makes them tick. You know how to win this joint, you own this place, all right?
The Champ Car World Series is one of the most exciting and popular international road racing competitions on the planet. These open-wheeled cars' turbocharged V8 engines generate nearly 800 horsepower. And when pushed to the limit, these cars can reach top speeds of 240 miles per hour. Champ cars, unlike many other open-wheeled racing series, compete on temporary street courses, permanent road courses, oval tracks. They even race on airport runways. This makes it one of the most technically demanding and diverse racing series known to man. Champ Car drivers hail from 11 different nations, and its races are broadcast live around the globe. This weekend's event is in Toronto, Canada, and the driver the local fans are coming to see is Foresight's Canadian racing superstar, Paul Tracy.
The distance that he's out breaking me by.
Tracy's competitive, take-no-prisoners driving style has earned him the reputation as one of the most electrifying drivers in the series. He's won more races than any other driver competing in Champ Car today. This weekend, as the series reaches its midway point in its current season, Paul Tracy is one frustrated man with no podium finishes and numerous crashes, which have earned him the nickname In the Wall Paul. There's no question Paul Tracy has an aggressive personality both on and off the track.
Paul is, people say one of the most aggressive drivers on the track. He brings, he's 37 years old. He's got 20 years of experience racing. He's just an outstanding driver, and we take the philosophy we're here to win. So we occasionally, the car doesn't come back. But if you're not exploring the envelope, if you're not trying hard, you don't win races.
Also adding to Tracy's woes is Foresight's latest acquisition, one A.J. Allmendinger, a fast young driver from California whose performance thus far has been very impressive. In his last race, not only did he finish first, but he also broke the track record, while Tracy crashed and scored another DNF, or did not finish.
It comes down to you always want to beat your teammate first and foremost. So you want to help each other as much as you can during the weekend to make Foresight the best team possible, because ultimately we want to be battling for 1-2, but it comes down to no matter where we're battling, we still want to beat each other.
Toronto is Paul Tracy's hometown, and if there is one race above all others this season that he wants to win, it's the Toronto Grand Prix. That means the pressure is on Paul and his pit crew to be in top form. So first thing Saturday morning, the pit crew gets together to practice. A typical Champ Car pit crew consists of 15 full-time members, but only 6 men can go over the wall during a pit stop.
We bring the car out about 30 minutes before practice, and we're going to do some pit stop practice. So we have the 4 mechanics who change the tires, the fuel guy, and the guy who does the quick jack. And we'll run through some practice pit stops, just make sure all the equipment's working fine, all the guys are used to getting in the rhythm and changing the tires for tomorrow for the race.
A Champ Car race is a dangerous place to work. The methanol fuel is explosive. Fast cars are just inches away. But there is no time to look over your shoulder. Champ Car pit stops are some of the fastest pit stops in motorsport racing. The crew has to perform mistake-free and virtually without thought. Thinking will cost the team time in the race and keep the crew members in danger longer. That's why every move is choreographed and practiced repeatedly until it becomes second nature.
Just getting in the habit of doing it, so it's repetitions. I mean, you're not even thinking about it, it just happens. For instance, a tire changer, his goal basically is to get on the nut as cleanly as possible, as quickly as possible. Fueling, following the car in, the guy plugging the fuel in, getting the thing in there basically as clean as possible, because you're always waiting on the fuel 9 times out of 10. If you're doing a fill-up, the tire changer should be done well ahead of the fuel.
For one man, this practice session is absolutely crucial. Forsyth mechanic Jeff Buxton has just learned that along with his regular job in the transporter, he will also be filling in for one of the full-time tire changers.
It's old school and automatic. We have one guy going over the wall for the first time, replacing a person, doing the outside rear, and he's nervous. So he doesn't need any more input or anything, so he's going to let him go and do his job.
Just let him go and do his job. It's easy to say, but one inexperienced team member could cost the team valuable seconds and positions in the race. Buxton may end up looking enviously at another job on the pit crew.
signboard is probably the best job, but they get to stand out there and watch the race. That's it. Hang out, watch the race, have a cool drink. That's the best job.
Following pit stop practice, the rest of the Forsyth team arrive and begin to prepare for their morning practice session. During practice, the crew will try to solve some cornering problems Paul Tracy has been reporting. They need to work that out before this afternoon's qualifying session. Starting positions for the final race are set according to the fastest lap times recorded during these qualifying sessions. Yesterday, Forsyth's driver Paul Tracy qualified 4th, and a 4th for Paul Tracy might as well be last. Unlike many other racing series, in Champ Car, the crew chief is not the top dog in the pits. The man in charge here today is Vice President of Team Operations, Neil Mickelwright.
Basically, I run the team and the company, so I'm pretty much like a general manager. Obviously, Mr. Forsyth owns the team, and then I take care of all of the operational issues of the team. Primarily, I'm on the headset up in the timing and scoring stand, usually talking with Paul, one of our drivers, and essentially keeping him briefed on where we are in the scheme of things, what's going on, when the next pit stop will be, and giving him any useful information that might help him to be more competitive.
Ford was on fresh tires.
Directly under Neil is lead engineer Eric Zito. Eric's vast knowledge of the physics behind what makes a Champ Car tick is used to help squeeze every last second of speed out of the number 3 Forsyth car.
Eric's the chief engineer on Paul's car, and so his job primarily is to come up with the setup or the alignment and the settings on the car to make it the best it can be on any given weekend. So once the car's out, he's usually studying his computer to understand what the car's doing, how it's doing it, and thinking about the next change that he'll be making.
What's up with this sway bar? It's all the way soft.
Yes, I want to try that, see if it's going to help your braking.
All right, my radio's not working.
All right.
Sway bars are an integral part of a race car's suspension system. They keep the car's body from rolling on itself in tight turns. This body roll slows a car. It tends to put more weight on the inside tires and less weight on the outside, reducing traction and stability.
You wouldn't think that coming into Toronto, Paul Tracy would be all the way back to the 11th, but he
Nothing. His radio's not working. He wanted to ask me about the sway bar as well.
He's going to be able to...
You know, it's like a big thing with him, the sway bar. I don't think he understands that the sway bar is an adjustable thing. You have to have a fairly close relationship with the driver just to interpret, what he wants out of a car to go fast. So basically, you're kind of like a translator. He doesn't necessarily know the technical side of the things. Champ Car racing is a very technical sport by nature. He basically just describes what he feels in the seat of his pants, what his button's telling him, what the car's doing, and he tells me that, and then using my background, I interpret that as what the car needs.
Now that the Forsyth over-the-wall pit crew is warmed up and ready to go, it is time for today's practice session. While the race car is out on the Toronto circuit, a computer telemetry system monitors and records in intricate detail every move both the driver and car make. This can be used for on-the-fly setup decisions during a race and is also analyzed for future reference. Practice sessions for the pit crew are not about doing 12-second pit stops. They're about tuning and tweaking the car until the driver feels confident that he can push it to its maximum potential. This is the last chance the pit crew will have before final qualifying to try and fix the handling problems Paul was experiencing yesterday. If they don't get things sorted out now, they will have no other option but to run the qualifying session this afternoon with a less than happy driver. Though their game faces are on, emotions are running high in the Forsyth pit. They know that it is their job to give Paul the precise setup he wants.
Red flag.
Almost as soon as the practice begins, there is an incident out on the track, forcing the session to be red flagged. All cars must return to the pits until the track is clear.
No fuel. No fuel. Just so you know, they got you for speeding out of the pit lane that last time. 55. You do it again, they're going to spank your PP. So we need to keep an eye on that.
During the unscheduled break in practice, a tire change and some minor suspension adjustments are made. With the track given the all clear, Tracy then heads back out on fresh rubber.
49 minutes, so watch your speed in the pit lane, watch your speed in the pit lane.
Champ cars are very complex machines. Obviously, you know, we're approaching 180 miles an hour at the end of the longest straight, and you're braking, to essentially 30 miles an hour in about 200, 250 feet. So the braking performance is a very key component to lap time. For sure, we're trying to make our cars go fast, but key to lap time on a circuit like Toronto, it's just as much about the ability to stop as it is the ability to accelerate and go through corners. After only a few hot laps, Tracy returns to the pits. The car is still not performing to his liking. He reports that he's having to brake early into the corners in order to maintain the car's stability, and that the early braking points are reducing his overall cornering speed.
Eric, we are just slightly deeper in braking, We're not getting the exit off of the corner. Not bad.
The pit crew once again tweaks the car's suspension and puts on a new set of tires. Tracy then heads back out to see if the situation has improved.
Got lost cohesion, car, lost stability, braking. One lost here. The whole car seems to have less grip.
The car became more inconsistent to drive.
Okay.
I feel like right now, feels disconnected front to rear.
Last lap.
Can't brake, Eric.
Yep, 10-4.
Tires are destroyed.
10-4, we've seen it.
As the practice session comes to a close, Tracy reports back that the car is now actually handling worse than it was at the beginning of the session. Frustrated, he consults with the team's lead engineer.
Terminal lock. Can't brake deeper than what I'm doing. I have to brake early or else I won't stop.
Let's change our focus a little bit now, right? We've extended our braking zone, right? We need to trust the rolling speed, you know? Particularly on reds, right? You have to trust the grip of the tires to, I mean, it's like, let's face it, that's always been your strength on the street circuits, right? You take a quick stab, you have a quick release.
Featuring the Sunoco Golf Running Championship. It's not the car is on the best, and find out how you can win 3 ultra.
After each on-track session, the pit crew returns to the paddock area where they have a fully functioning, transportable garage. Here is where all the major work on the car is performed. Every member of the pit crew double as mechanics in the transporter and have one specialized skill relating to the inner workings of the race car.
It was a pretty average morning. A lot of the changes we made this morning we didn't get the improvements out of the car that we were looking for. At the same time, we're only allocated 7 sets of tyres, so we're running old tyres. So the progression as you go through the morning practice sessions, the tyres obviously get older and older. Right at the last run there, we put on a new set of tyres. We didn't make the big gains that we were looking for. So obviously the engineers and Paul will be sitting down talking before qualifying and coming up with some changes and hopefully get a little bit more time out of the car before qualifying. Okay, this is Neil Campbell. He's the hometown hero. He's from Toronto originally.
Hello, everybody.
He's just doing a nut and bolt on all the rear suspension, making sure everything's tight like we talked about. This is Dan. He's actually pumping out the methanol right now. After every time we run the car, we pump the methanol out to get a fuel number, and that we give that to the engineers and they can calculate the fuel mileage on this engine. So going into tomorrow's race, we know exactly what sort of fuel mileage we can expect to get from this engine, which is very important, obviously. Now this is Jeff. We call him Aussie for obvious reasons. If you hear him talk, he's got a very strange accent. He's doing the same sort of thing. He's doing a nut and bolt, just making sure all the suspension is tight. And then this is actually a truck driver, Mark, and he's just cleaning the car, making sure it's all spotless so it all looks good and sharp for qualifying.
It is only a short time now until the final qualifying session for tomorrow's race along Toronto's Lakeshore, and the Forsyth pit crew is back in pit lane. Once again, they'll prepare the car with fresh fuel and rubber to go back out on the temporary racing circuit. Paul Tracy finished 4th after yesterday's qualifying, and he's looking to improve that today.
The strength of Paul's crew is just experience. I mean, they have a group of guys that have been doing it together for 3 to 4 years. I mean, it's just automatic for those guys, and that's why if you look at any of the cumulative pit stop times for a given race weekend, Paul Tracy's and AJ Allmendinger's crews are always at the top of the list. Period. Paul's just in a slump right now. I mean, we need to have a good result here to get him back on top, and this would be the place to do it, being his home race.
Here in Toronto, local newspaper journalists have been suggesting that Paul's teammate, AJ Allmendinger, who has just won the last 2 races, is getting preferential treatment and technology from the Forsyth team, hinting that his number 7 car may actually be faster than Tracy's.
AJ's car is not faster. They're very similar. I mean, people got to realize that AJ is on a huge emotional roller coaster right now. I mean, he's unbeatable right now. He's on a pedestal. So, I mean, he's going to get 110% of the car. Paul's car, in my opinion, is every bit as fast or faster than this one right now. But he's on the other end of the spectrum. He's in a little bit of a slump, and we just got to get him out of that slump. There has to be some competitiveness to make them both take them to the next level. I mean, but you don't want to get it to the point where it becomes where they get disjointed and it's 2 separate teams. It's not. It's one team. It's in our interest to have them both the best that they can be.
The Champ cars get a couple of sighting laps before the qualifying session goes green. More suspension adjustments have been made to the race car prior to the session in the hopes that Tracy will get the stick he needs from the number 3 car in the corners.
AJ 58.9, Wilson 59.02, then you 59.04. So currently P3. Up a second, clear of Philly.
The number 3 car appears to be handling better. Tracy is clocking the 3rd fastest lap times during the warm-up session. Eric Zito continues to get feedback from Tracy as he negotiates the circuit.
Let me break it down to this way, okay? Just looking at your braking performance right now, you've definitely made improvements like with the roll-in speed, right? But the problem is I think we've gone too far the other way. Let me break down the Lakeshore, the hairpin turn 3 to you, okay? Your stopping performance is like awesome. Basically, in a straight line, you brake as late, if not just a touch later. You hit the brake pedal later than AJ did, even in yesterday's red tire qualifying run, okay? And you can see there's like the 4 tires slow down equally, and you like slow down so fast. You know what I mean? You actually slow the car down faster than AJ. The thing is, he enters that corner with more speed.
When I try to enter more speed, front end just shoots across the track.
For sure, every driver, I think when things are going well, they have almost an arrogance about them, and I think, they can do no wrong in their mind. But I think when things aren't going well, drivers are probably some of the most insecure people that you'll find. when he's feeling down, you have to know, the right buttons to push to lift him up. And conversely, when he's kind of riding on too high a horse, you need to, settle him back down a bit.
I just drive like I know how to drive.
Yeah, exactly. You know what I'm saying?
I'm trying to copy what he does.
No, exactly. Just do. That's all I'm saying, Paul. It's really what I'm trying to say, right? What I'm saying is stop focusing on like, for example, the brake and this and that, whatever, right? You used to, just get the max speed out of it, right? Let's just think max speed.
With tensions in the Forsyth pits running high, it's time for the final qualifying session to start. Once out on the track, Paul Tracy will have just 1 hour to turn his fastest lap and hopefully secure the pole position for tomorrow's final. The pit crew's setup difficulties with the car's suspension continues on into qualifying. Tracy's lap times remain consistent with those from his previous practice sessions. Neil makes his best effort to keep Paul in a winning state of mind.
10-4, those are some good laps, currently P3 overall. But we're right there, right there.
Currently holding the third fastest qualifying time, a frustrated Paul Tracy returns to the pits, hoping that his crew will come up with a quick solution to correct his cornering issues. Qualifying time is running out for the team. In a last-ditch effort, the pit crew mount a set of tires known as Reds. Reds are super soft, sticky tires, which allow the driver to push his car harder in the corners. The downside to using Reds is that they remain sticky for a very limited number of laps. After only a couple of hot laps, these tires quickly turn from sticky to greasy. Tracy's woes continue as heavy qualifying traffic slows him up, preventing him from recording a hot lap he needs to earn the pole position for tomorrow's race.
Traffic. Yeah, 10-4, it looked like I'd be able to get by Wilson. I didn't say anything, but you need to find yourself a gap, but we're looking right now at the screen. Okay, you can back up a little bit, but not much. Keep an eye on your mirror. Don't make sure you don't get in the way of Serbia. Let Serbia get away from you a bit. Everybody's pretty evenly spread out. It's not like there's a big gap out there anyway.
Too much goddamn traffic.
Yep, 10-4. Well, then I think what you ought to do is, if there's still a bunch of traffic out there, just let that car, Serbia, go by you. Let some cars pass. Or whichever car it is, car 20. That's Catherine, so if you want to let her go, but you're going to catch her again pretty quick. The car that's immediately ahead of you looks like it's that Halen, but you know he's going to back up on you.
Paul, you're going to have 2 laps to go when you take the beacon, all right? All you need is 1 lap, okay? All you need is 1 lap. Just make the best gap you can and go for 1 lap.
God, fucking tires. God.
Okay, I want you to calm down. You're going to take 1 more kick of the cat, okay? Gather yourself up for 1 more go. Just make sure you've got a gap. We're going to give you 1 more go. Last lap, last lap. You must pit, you must pit. Confirm you pit.
10-4, check yourself.
10-4.
Oh my God, I can't take my
Wilson threw one in right at the end to go P1. We ended up P4, so basically still same place we were yesterday, but we're not as far back as before. Wilson 58.18, AJ 58.26, Bourdais 58.34, and then you at 58.57.
Following the session, the entire pit crew knows that Tracy is not happy with his 4th place qualifying time.
Went into qualifying very optimistic about having a shot for the pole. First qualifying attempt was good. Went to the option tire, which is a red tire. And for whatever reason, we're just not, as a team on this side, able to capitalize on a tire like some other teams.
I don't understand. Like I said, I don't understand how we're like the only team, only car in pit lane that when we bolt it on. No, that's fine. That's fine. I'm not.
I tried everything you want me to try. Do it.
Yeah. Okay.
The car becomes undrivable. I can't even get within 3/10. You know?
Hey, well, I don't know what you want me to say because I don't have the magic adjustment that everyone else seems to have. Everyone else throws reds on. That's the only change they make. We throw reds on, and you know it seems like we need to change the whole car. I don't know what that change is.
It seems to be a fundamental balance shift when we put them on the track.
It's not even a balance shift.
It's not a balance shift.
It's just the car's crap. It's got no grip. You know, it won't go through the corners at all. As soon as I let it go into the corner, it starts to slide.
The good news is we didn't end up any lower on the grid, but we're closer. We're closer to the people in front of us than we've been. So I mean, overall we've improved, but not to the degree we'd like to.
Clearly, there is tension in the pits. Both Tracy and the Forsyth team believe they can do better. Still, Paul puts on his game face to meet with the Toronto Press Corps.
You know, it's a long race, it's a tactical race, so, you know, fourth is good. So, you know, we're happy with how the car is performing on the black tires. I think we're very quick on black tires, and we're not going to run reds in the race. We've decided that already. The car just doesn't want to react to reds, so I think, you know, we're going to go with what we know.
Part of the maintenance strategy of the Forsyth pit crew is to monitor how long every component on the number 3 car has been in use, so that high-stress items can be changed well before there is any chance of a failure.
Parts lifing is probably one of the most critical things on these cars. I mean, for the most part, about everything on there is mileaged. For instance, suspension pieces pretty much, it sounds like a lot, but 5,000 miles. They very rarely see that because they don't last that long. You go through accidents. But between that, engine components, everything is mileaged.
There's a mileage report for basically each side, each car for the day, and this comes from Cosworth. This is solely just the things that they monitor, which is engine related. This is not anything that does with the car. I have another sheet that's completely separate that I get from the engineers.
The engineering trailer is, we're fortunate enough to actually be one of the few organizations to actually have an entire semi, an entire, you know, full-on tractor trailer that comes to the races that is essentially a mobile office. It's just an extension of the office that we have back at the shop. It's laid out to be as open as possible, much like our office back at the shop, to encourage as much communication between the two sides, because ultimately, the way I view engineering is just one big group, you know, that strives to gain as much performance out of the two cars as possible.
If you look at that, Eric, they're all a little bit different. AJ is carrying more speed in the first third, less speed mid-corner, but back to throttle more aggressively. And Paul, it's just a style difference, and I wouldn't say it's... I mean, AJ's making it work just a little bit better. His style, but it's so close.
Right now they're going to take the headers off, getting ready to put the race ones on, which we do every Saturday night. We're not doing an engine change. We have race headers that go on that are certain mileage. We don't go into a race with anything over 1,500 miles on the exhaust system. So they're putting a fresh set on for tonight. So they're process of doing now. After that, they'll change the clutch. But really right now, it's pretty, until they get going here, you'll see it at kind of slow paces, and they get into the transmission here shortly. They'll bust it all apart, change every gear in and get ready for tomorrow, change drive shafts, new brakes, look at everything closely, change out the things that are mileaged out, and get ready for tomorrow. It's gonna go, it'll pick up here in a little bit. It kind of gets to a lull here for a little while, and then it'll get chaotic. You all right?
Yeah.
Can't figure out this
rest. You just can't worry about it. It's easy for me to say, but I'm telling you that
it feels like the car's like a sprint car with a flat tire.
I know, but I don't know. I'm not a driver, but I just, honestly, I tell you, I mean, you're too hard on yourself. Jesus Christ. I think. You can laugh at me. That's what it is.
Driver's meeting.
Hey, they don't say nobody in yellow shoes though.
Huh? These are orange.
Tomorrow, if you look AJ, you let your buddy Wilson whack you in the corner, you're gonna get a tattoo.
Forsyth mechanic Jeff Buxton is now less than 24 hours from his first over-the-wall pit stop during a race. He's trying his hardest to keep his nerves from getting the best of him.
Today will be all right. Tomorrow I've got to worry about. But I'll cross that bridge when I get there. Otherwise I won't sleep tonight. I'll worry about that in the morning.
Oh, he's fine. Yeah, he got no problem. If it was a question, he wouldn't have been over there. Yeah, no, if anybody's putting pressure on, he's putting too much pressure on himself. That could be annoying. He's never down. I mean, he's always positive, upbeat, 110% all the time. So, no, he's ready. Yeah, he needs to do it.
Race day for the Forsyth team starts with a short 30-minute practice session. Champ Car drivers are a highly competitive bunch, and even during a practice session, they will push to see if they can better their competitors' lap times. This morning, things are going very well for the number 3 car, as Paul Tracy is laying down the second fastest lap times of the morning, even faster than his teammate AJ in the number 7 car. Everything continues to go according to plan for the number 3 team, when suddenly Tracy's smooth ride encounters some unforeseen bumps.
Red flag. Hit this lap. Red flag. You must have been pretty close to that. Oh, I guess we were about to that.
On the side of him, he turned in, drove over my tire.
Okay, guys, have a good look around. Which time?
The practice session is cut short for the number 3 team, as Tracy is given an 8-minute penalty for his role in the incident. Though the race car seems to have received very little damage, this altercation cuts the team's on-track testing time in half.
And Casamets, I don't believe, saw Tracy going through on the inside. The right front of Paul Tracy connects with the left rear of Thomas Casamets.
This morning started off okay, but Paul had an incident on the track with another car, and it caused a red flag. And anytime you cause a red flag, you get an 8-minute penalty. And there was less than 8 minutes to go in the session, so of course that meant that we were out of time. We're running full tanks. It's always good to try and run 30 minutes on full tank, see how the car's handling. So, I mean, that puts us a little bit behind the 8 ball, but at the same time, we'll be fine. The car wasn't too badly damaged, really. It was a small incident. He went down the inside of another car they touched, just kind of ran over the front wheel of Paul's car. It broke the front wing, no suspension damage, so got away pretty lucky.
As the pit crew goes through their pre-race checklist, the Champ Car fans pour into the grandstands set up along the temporary racetrack. In Toronto, the Grand Prix is one of the biggest annual events of the summer, and tens of thousands of fans come from far and wide to experience a Champ Car race up close and personal. And the driver the Toronto fans come to see is their hometown boy, Paul Tracy.
Right now we've got a few minutes before we go get some lunch, so the guys are just starting to break down all the equipment. After the race we're flying out tonight. We've got a flight at 7:30, so we're going to be pushed for time, so we're just breaking down a little bit right now, then we'll finish off after the race. I mean, it's an exciting job. You got to kind of treat it as a lifestyle almost, because you do a lot of traveling, you spend a lot of time in airports. A lot of guys have got families, you spend a lot of time away from your family, so you make a lot of sacrifices, but at the same time it's a very fulfilling job, it's exciting. I do it because I love racing.
Before this round in the Champ Car Series can get underway, the 17 competitors will first line up their cars in their starting order on pit lane for the official opening ceremonies.
You'd like to hope that the pit crew wouldn't put any added pressure on themselves, because that'd be the worst thing, you know, on race day. You know, if you're, you know, in the heat of the race and you're thinking, oh God, I can't screw up because, you know, this is Paul's hometown race, you're going to make a mistake. And I think, you know, if you kind of see me on the stand and you see the guys operate, we do look kind of calm. I mean, it looks like we're going through a routine, and I think that's just largely because, you know, we're trained to do that. You just don't want to get yourself in a situation where you're panicking, where you're putting any added stress on yourself. You know what I think's going to happen? I think Justin's going to blow the start. I think the left outside train is going to move, and then like Sebastian's going to get pinched on, you know, down low. We'll see if he does anything stupid though. Because you know what happens if you get pinched against the wall there in turn one?
Yeah. Get the pinch.
Yeah. As long as he doesn't do anything crazy and like go spearing on, you know, straight ahead.
This is Paul's home race, and we have actually had a pretty good car here. The car was fast yesterday. We never got a really good lap on the red tyres, so I think we stand a pretty good chance.
We try not to lose positions in the pit, and where we can, you know, we try to gain positions. But on race day, it's really up to Paul. I mean, it's almost out of our hands at this point, you know. The car's set, it's really just a race between the drivers, and that's what it should be. If we're in a situation where we have to save fuel, the trail throttle that we did at Cleveland, all that stuff is perfect, all right? But like I said, you drive the race, you know how to win this joint, you own this place, all right?
With the opening pomp and ceremony out of the way, it's time for the pit crew to go to work. The field goes green, and the race is on. Paul Tracy is immediately locked in 4th place. Gaining a position requires patience, tenacity, and a flawless pit stop strategy.
One thing that tends to happen in this race is because of the length of the race and the number of miles or laps you can do on a tank of fuel, at some point everybody will do a short fill, in as much as instead of filling the car to the top, they'll put less fuel in an effort to try and gain track position.
Okay, we're all set up. You're going to have to come around AJ's guys. Come around AJ guys.
Although Tracy starts the race on the softer red tires, he changes to the blacks during the first pit stop. Champ Car rules dictate that each competitor must use both reds and blacks during a race. Though they used the short fuel strategy, mounting the back left tire took almost a second longer than the other 3 tires. This means that although they only put in a splash of gas, they lost several spots during the pit stop. Paul Tracy is now behind the 8 ball. He must push hard to fight his way back from 7th, while trying to conserve fuel until he can pit again.
All right, Paul, I know you're doing all you can with fuel, but just to give you an idea, the leaders are getting in the high 1.9s. They're able to do in the mid to high 1.9s.
No way I can do that. You know, I'm not even going to full throttle anywhere around the track, and I'm only making 186.
10-4, 10-4. All I can do, and all you can do, is try.
From turn 3 all the way back to the start-finish line, I don't even get the full throttle. I'm just like half throttle, you know, everywhere.
The short fuel pit stop strategy forces Tracy to dial back his driving style in an effort to conserve fuel. falling off the pace, the team calls in an engine technician from engine supplier Cosworth.
I was with Roosport and Wilson last year, and he was coming off the throttle so much that he was sending the butterfly into like a weird harmonic, something that the electronics weren't even used to seeing. That's where he was saving all his fuel.
So
if he can roll into something...
Is he better off using full throttle but rolling out of it sooner?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
Instead of, they say go ahead and use full throttle, but at the end of the straights, try and roll out of it sooner. Try and roll out earlier, but go ahead and use full throttle to make up the difference.
The advice of the Cosworth engine specialist works, and almost immediately, Paul Tracy's fuel mileage begins to dramatically improve, allowing him to return to the aggressive driving style that has made him famous.
That's just unbelievable mileage. You're actually going quicker than the 3 or 4 cars in front of you.
As if on cue, Tracy makes his move for third place and passes his longtime rival, Sebastian Bourdais.
No, like I said, our two cars should, without question right now, be in front, sailing away from the
Justin Wilson is now in Tracy's sights as the Forsyth car moves from third to second place. With the Forsyth team now running 1-2 in the Toronto Grand Prix, the pressure again falls on the shoulders of the pit crew. It is now up to the pit crew to make sure that no positions are lost during the final planned pit stop.
No. Negative. Pit this lap.
After near-perfect pit stops from the Forsyth crews, Paul and AJ begin to pull away from the rest of the field. But with only 9 laps remaining, a crash brings out the yellow caution flag. The field once again tightens up under the caution, and once again, it's anyone's race.
Full course yellow, stay out, full course yellow. Okay, just an update now then. Yeah, full course yellow, there are 9 laps to go. You are currently P2, AJ is leading. Last time by, Bourdais was -18. I'm still looking to see how much traffic there is between you and Bourdais. Did you understand what I told you previously? As you come over now, there are 5 laps to go. When it goes green, there will be 4 laps to go. The guy behind you, Bourdais and Wilson and DeMarta are all for position. Prior to the stop, you were outrunning all of those guys behind you. Okay, get ready. Keep an eye on what's going on in front of you as well. We do not need teammates touching. Be ready. Get ready. Green. Okay, keep an eye on your mirrors. Bourdais right there with you. Last lap. Bourdais right there. Bring her home, buddy. Bring her home. Good job.
I know it's not exactly what you wanted, but you drove an awesome race today.
The only thing, though, I'll tell you what, before the race, I was glad I did is I told Jerry, the owner, he says, how are we going to do today? And I mean, I said 1-2. I told him that. And I was so glad we did that because he came to me right after the race and said, you're right, you called it.
I really wanted this one, and I've been close, now a couple of years in a row, and you can almost taste it, and you can smell it, and it just, you always wonder if you're going to get another shot as close, but really, I guess that's just the way it goes.
pretty well. You know, obviously 2 cars on the team. We finished first and second, so we're pretty happy with that. Pretty uneventful race. It was the 3rd win in a row for AJ. Nice to see PT back up on the podium where he belongs, and he drove a heck of a race. Really, I mean, everything just went, you know, really very, very well. For the team, the crew members, everybody on it, you know, a 1-2 is the best that we could possibly hope for, so we're all delighted.
There you go,
It's a huge team morale boost, and you know, ultimately it's the best finish you can ask for, so everyone's ecstatic right now. It's great feeling. Right now the guys they're going to clean it because it's pretty dirty. They're going to pickle it, which means they're going to run gasoline through the fuel system just to flush out all the methanol, and we're going to put it in the trailer and go party.
It wasn't as bad as what I thought. I probably messed myself up a little bit the first time. Prior to the race, I hammered that wheel on pretty hard because I like to make sure that it was on good. It cost me a little bit of time getting it off, but I got them all on facing the right way and nothing fell off. Had a good day, so now that's all over, I feel a lot better. I need a drink now.
Paul, for sure and certain, we needed this for him more than anybody else, probably emotionally. It put him back to know that he can run up front. And again, going to Edmonton now, I think, you know, both guys will be contending for the win there, no question.
This car does 0 to 60 in about a half a second. It goes 0 to 100 in a little over 1 second.
These mechanics are top notch. They're all dedicated. They all love what they're doing. That's what it's about.
We go to the starting line. It's one guy, one car. We'll go up there and see who's the first one across the finish line. Okay, let's do it, do it, do it.
The International Hot Rod Association sanctions one of the biggest drag racing series in North America. It boasts 5 different classes of competition, holds 11 international racing events every year. Each one broadcasts coast to coast on national television. The IHRA Top Fuel Dragster class is the premier division in the series. These dragsters are some of the most extreme horsepower machines in the world, and their quarter-mile runs deliver 5 seconds of the most exciting racing on the planet. With engines that produce over 7,000 horsepower, 0 to 100 miles per hour in just under a second is standard operating procedure. These nitromethane-burning, supercharged V8 Hemi engines are so loud they register 2.0 on the Richter scale. Top Fuel driver Todd Payton is the only Canadian driver in the IHRA Top Fuel Dragster division. And this weekend, he is the hometown hero at the Toronto Motorsport Park event. However, the Payton Racing pit crew faces a major challenge this weekend. They're breaking in a new dragster, and this will be its first test in a major competition. Breaking in a new dragster means the Payton pit crew are bound to face an assortment of technical teething problems. But this die-hard crew are ready to roll up their sleeves, pull out the wrenches, and do whatever it takes to finish the weekend on top of the box. Things are off to a slow start for this weekend's event. It's been raining at the Toronto Motorsport Park on and off for almost 24 hours. Drag cars run on slick tires, and even a light shower will bring all racing to a stop until the track can be thoroughly dried out. There are 3 qualifying sessions scheduled for the Top Fuel dragsters today. But currently, there is nothing the teams can do but wait. Unfortunately, in drag racing, Mother Nature plays a very big role in the sport, and rained-out events do occur throughout the racing season. Not only are they a big financial hit for the promoters and the sanctioning body, but a rained-out weekend is also a blow to many of the smaller teams who are running on tight, inflexible budgets.
We're here this weekend. We already got hit by rain once back in July. We had to reschedule it for September. You know what that does to us, a lot of the teams, a lot of the fans, it's tough. It's not easy for these teams to get up here, to drive up here, the expense of gas. Just traveling in general is so outrageous these days. It's very hard on the teams. So we're here today. We've been hit with more rain. So it's really important to these guys to get a fair shot at the track, give it their best, and do as well as they can. Not just here, but in terms of the big picture for the World Championship.
Today, in the early afternoon, there has been a break in the weather, and the blower trucks begin to dry the track in preparation for today's qualifying sessions. The Peyton pit crew goes over the dragsters' final preparation in hopes that the rain will hold off long enough for them to put in a qualifying run. The man overseeing the preparation today is team owner and crew chief Barry Peyton.
Well, I basically have total responsibility for this crew and the car. I am the crew chief, I tune the car, and basically I'm the go-to guy on everything. Since the early 60s, I've had a race car and a designated only race car. And when my sons came along in the mid-80s, they joined in and we ran the alcohol funny car back there. Then when IHRA came up with the Top Fuel program, we decided that that's what we needed to do because there were venues that were close to home and it fit our program.
My dad commonly says if you can work with your dad, you can work with anybody. But, you know, it's kind of neat. Away from the racetrack, we are father and son, but here we are teammates. So for us to be competing at the top level in the sport that we've chosen to be in, you know, it's a dream come true for him. And I just hope, you know, that I can do my part well enough to help him realize his dreams.
While Barry and Todd Peyton are definitely the backbone of the team, the volunteer pit crew with the oil in their veins are the ones that keep this car running. Working on an extremely tight budget, it's obvious that this team is fueled by a true passion for the sport. At Peyton Racing, the pit crews are entirely made up of volunteers, trained professionals who sweat it out in the pits on race weekends throughout the summer, while holding down day jobs throughout the week. Though 11 team members have arrived at Toronto Motorsport Park to lend a hand this weekend, there are 5 core pit crew members who attend every race.
With a crew made up primarily of volunteers, we've kind of let everyone figure out where they feel that their strengths apply. And we've had Bobby now, you'll see him, he does what's the bottom end of the motor. So basically when the car comes back, he'll drop the oil pan, pull all the bearings out and check the basic health of the motor, because that's the lifeblood of this thing, is figuring out what the bearings, what the connecting rods look like. Mark Morris, he came to us a couple years ago as kind of a co-op student out of the high school system, and he thought he'd come see what drag racing was all about. He'd never been to a drag strip before, and he kind of worked his way up from, you know, parts washer, wiping the tires down and stuff, and now he pretty much handles all the engine building. He actually built this car that we've got this weekend. At the track, he takes care of engine building and also maintains the clutch. And we've got a couple other fellows, Gary and Todd will take care of the cylinder heads when the car comes back. And my brother, if he wasn't emceeing a wedding today, would also be responsible for overseeing the cylinder head maintenance. And then we've got my father and myself. We kind of tend to the smaller things, the finessing part at least of the tune-up as far as ignition. And when we come back to the pits, I'll download everything off the data logger and put it up on the computer screen for my dad to see. And he'll go ahead and make the adjustments as far as tuning with the fuel and ignition profiles.
Top Fuel pit crews are some of the hardest working teams in racing. IHRA race events are made up of 2 days of racing. On Saturday, 18 teams are paired up head-to-head for the first round of timed qualifiers. Only the top 8 fastest dragsters make it through to a typical 2-car tournament-style elimination round on Sunday. By the time they have worked the field down to the final round, the top 2 cars in the final will have raced at least 5 times over 2 days. These big block, supercharged V8 Hemi engines are pushed to such extremes that after each drag race, the pit crew must tear down and completely rebuild the engine with new parts. And in most cases, they will only have just over 1 hour to do so before they must head back out to the drag strip. This limited time frame places extreme pressure on the team. If the slightest detail is overlooked, it can cost the team the entire weekend. Races are won or lost by only 2 factors: the driver's reaction time at the starting tree and how well the car is performing. Even the slightest change in air temperature or air pressure will alter the way the engine is tuned. Drag racing is definitely old school. Hard work and seat-of-the-pants experience are truly the order of the day.
You want to start it?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All
right, see you guys.
What are you doing with the clutch?
The test fire, or engine warm-up that is done before every race, is of critical importance. It is the only chance the teams will get to make sure that everything is working correctly. And as Top Fuel dragster engines are quite possibly the most delicate and stressed engines in motorsport racing, no detail can be overlooked. During these tests, the crew must wear gas masks to filter the fumes of the highly flammable nitromethane and methanol fuel mixture used to power the engine. During a typical quarter-mile race, a Top Fuel dragster will burn through 10 to 12 gallons of the stuff. Top Fuel engines are fired up by squirting raw gas directly into the supercharger, where it is ignited by the spark plugs mounted in the engine's Hemi heads below. As they fire the engine, the Peyton pit crew quickly realizes that they have a serious problem. The car is having trouble changing between its forward and reverse gears. Meanwhile, word spreads through the pits that the blower trucks have now dried the track, and the teams could be called to qualify at any moment.
Hey, Bobby?
Yes?
On the warm-up there, when we were all said and done, was something still spinning? Because I heard something still spin, like the degree wheel and all that's still on the hub. Yeah, it's just something stupid. When I shut it off, it sounded like something was still spinning.
I can't say I heard anything.
Okay, it's just... And did you have a hard time getting the starter off or not?
Oh, no.
Okay.
It was off like a dream.
Something was clunking back there initially.
Starter came off the best it's ever come off.
Okay. I know nothing up here. I'm just telling you what I...
No, if you're hearing though,
The pit crew quickly determines that the clutch needs to be adjusted. Fine-tuning the clutch is a relatively minor procedure. However, the team is concerned that the same problem could happen again over in the staging area. Top Fuel dragsters have only 2 gears, one forward and one reverse. The clutch and the throttle pedal are the single most important tools for the driver of a Top Fuel dragster. Not only is the clutch used to engage the engine with the transmission, but it's also used to control the car's acceleration during a race. Where most typical cars use multiple gear changes to get up to top speed, a Top Fuel dragster is revved up to full power at the starting line, and as the clutch locks the wheels to the engine, the car gains speed. The clutch is also crucial for what is known in drag racing as a burnout. Burnouts are done at the starting line just prior to the race. The driver quickly releases the clutch, causing the dragster's tires to spin and launch the dragster forward. The reverse gear then allows the car to back up to the starting line. The burnout serves 3 main purposes. It preheats the tires to give them better traction at the start. It also coats the track with a layer of rubber, which further increases traction. And finally, it helps the crew to remove any debris from the tires that may have been picked up on the short trip from the pits.
We're going to probably start pushing you to do your burnout, and then we'll push you up when you go up the stage like more and more cars are doing, so we don't wear clutch off as you get the car rolling. Because what we had here is a warm-up that's taken off enough that you couldn't get it in gear.
Yeah.
So that's obviously why they're doing it, and which is a lot of reason why some cars get out to half track and got to continue. all but for 8 or 10 thou of clutch wear.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, what a fragile, silly system.
Oh,
that
it
is.
always has been, and that's, you know, it seems to be prevalent much more on this chassis for whatever reason. I know we're still using the same linkage and stuff. Is this our pedal, or is this the pedal that came with this car? So, I don't know, you know. But anyhow, so we're okay back there now?
Yeah.
Okay, up on fire?
With the clutch adjustment completed, the crew prepares for another test fire and engine warm-up. The Peyton car starts without a problem, but again, the dragster cannot change from forward into reverse.
Is it a linkage issue?
Oh, that's such a open seal back there.
Could this reverser be
possible?
Pull it. We got the spare.
What?
Pull it. We have another one, right?
The team quickly deduces that the problem is in the shifter linkage that engages the reverse gear in the dragster's transmission.
We took the reverser apart and we saw that one of the gears in there has a little bit of a burr on the edge of it, and something that insignificant probably would prevent it, would probably hold it up from going into reverse. So we've got a spare reverser. We just went through it and made sure everything was happy with it, and it's getting bolted in. We're going to start working on the other one here after the warm-up, make sure it's race ready too. When you're working on these things, it's not so much what's bolted to the car, it's what's getting bolted to the car next. And there's a certain amount of pressure working on these things, but we've always got a time factor, because you never know, especially where we've got this bit of a rain delay here, whether or not they're going to come and tell us we got to be on the starting line in 15 minutes or whether we got an hour or two. So, you know, we always try and assume that they're going to come for us in the next 30 seconds.
As tension mounts in the Peyton Racing pits, the team takes another crack at firing the engine. But Todd still cannot get the dragster into reverse. It appears a small bracket on the transmission has come loose, and this may be the cause of the problem.
Barry! What was that? Huh? What was that?
The bracket wasn't tight that holds the whole thing.
Who was that?
Hmm?
Why was that?
I guess Mark forgot to tighten it.
Okay.
As the drag racing fans begin to pour into Toronto Motorsport Park, qualifying is now only minutes away. The pressure is on the Peyton pit crew to find a quick solution. If they don't, this race weekend could be over without making a single trip to the starting tree. Just as it seems all hope may be lost, the problem is identified. The linkage running from Todd's shift control back to the transmission has come out of alignment and has too much slack.
Come here, Todd, look. Right here, watch this nut. Mark, watch your hands, dude. It's on, that's it.
Right.
There's no more movement there, right?
Yeah.
You're saying it stops right there, but it wasn't getting into it.
Okay.
So we need to lengthen this one back out. If you want your arm to change position, we shorten the back.
Okay, very good.
Lengthen that one back out all the way. And we'll shorten it there if we need to. If he says his arm's not in the right position, we'll shorten it there.
3 o'clock.
As qualifying time closes in, teams prepare their cars for today's first session on the drag strip. The Peyton crew feel confident that they have solved their transmission problem, and now they focus on their first run of the weekend. This is where all the long hours and hard work pay off for this volunteer pit crew.
If you witness what they do throughout the weekend, you know, be it wake up early in the morning, stay up late at night, you know, thrash on these cars, to imagine someone putting that much time, that much effort into a job, any job period, the fact that they would do it for free is pretty amazing, and, you know, truly a testament to what they're doing, how, you know, how much they love it, how much passion they have for the sport.
The constant threat of rain has not kept the die-hard drag racing fans away from this weekend's event. The IHRA officials are very pleased with the passion and commitment of their Canadian supporters.
I think it's a testament to the fans, to the Canadian fans. We've been to a lot of events in Canada and we've had rain problems, and you see the same thing that you're seeing here today. The fans just do not leave. Obviously there's a lot of hunger for drag racing in Canada, and we'll be happy to deliver that.
These IHRA fans have come to see one of the best drag racing shows in North America.
Our two, what we call our top classes, is Top Fuel and Nitro Funny Car. They're the 330-mile-an-hour cars, cover the quarter mile in 4.5 seconds. So I mean, those are considered the kings of the sport. We run 5 professional categories, and it really features and highlights the premier, the highest level of drag racing.
The Peyton team prepares for their qualifying run by examining every nut and bolt right up to the very last minute, searching for any detail that may have been overlooked. The team knows that every time Todd squeezes into the dragster, that he is putting his life on the line.
With this car, we've gone as quick as 4.70 seconds in the quarter mile, and that was at the finish line measured. We ran 314 miles an hour. But as far as the actual horsepower output is, we've never been able to successfully dyno any of these vehicles. There's not a dyno in the world strong enough. But the best measurements and best guess we've had based on data and calculations is somewhere in the area of 7,000 to 7,500. The sensation of driving a Top Fuel dragster is as if you were sitting idling at a stoplight and a freight train came and hit you from behind at about 85 miles an hour, and you go from 0 to instant acceleration. The car, when it leaves the starting line, according to our G meter, we're subjected to about 4.5 Gs of acceleration force. And then as the clutch nears lockup at about 2.5 seconds, it'll spike the G meter to almost 6 Gs.
Of the 18 Top Fuel cars that will compete in today's qualifying session, only the 8 cars with the fastest times recorded will move on into tomorrow's elimination races. Usually, teams are given 3 shots at setting their fastest qualifying time. But with this morning's rain delay and the threat of more showers on the way, there may be time for only 1 qualifying session. If the dragster is unable to get into reverse, as it did during the test firing, the team will be disqualified. Fortunately for the Peyton team, they seem to have licked their transmission trouble. Now it's all up to Todd Peyton to get down this quarter-mile track as fast as he can.
I'm reasonably happy realizing, of course, that he had to step off the throttle, what we call pedal, to put the car back on the ground and get back on the throttle again. So that takes up time, but overall we can fix that problem there. We're absolutely confident that we will qualify and qualify well.
Well, good job. Sorry, I had to pedal it. It was right on the center line. And when it came down, I knew it was up.
Oh, it was way up.
Yeah, I was driving and driving, but it was just flying. It wasn't going to go this way, and it didn't feel like it was going to go that way, so I just stayed with it. I probably should have blipped it while it was up, but I didn't really want to slam. It came down real gentle.
Did it?
Yeah.
When you got off it, it came down gentle?
I was off it when it was down.
Oh.
So it came down, and then I got off it. because I didn't want it to slam down. We ended up sitting in pre-stage for a fair amount of time, and the car probably burned an extra half to almost 3/4 of a gallon out of the fuel tank. So when we got up there, the car was probably 7 to 10 pounds light in the nose. And the end result of that, as we saw, probably a little too much height in the nose there for a little bit, but it set it down gracefully. We went out there, I had to get off the throttle. In the end, we were able to get a decent enough time out of it, but there's just, like I say, so many little things that you don't even think about.
With a solid run under their belt, the Peyton team has qualified 5th overall. The pit crew must now go into high gear. If the weather holds out, and there is an opportunity for a second qualifying session, the team must have their engine rebuilt and ready to go for their next run.
Even though it looks like absolute chaos back there, it's actually a well-orchestrated dance, if you will. It's well choreographed. We've got our clutch guys already got the clutch out, got another clutch prepared to go in it. They're taking the bottom end of the motor apart to check for damage, so they're going to make sure everything lines up, everything's sealed properly, bolt it back together, and we'll try and make some more noise later on.
Former European Top Fuel champion and longtime friend of the Peyton Racing team, Smack Smith knows what it takes to make a successful Top Fuel pit crew.
You have to be able to work under pressure. So, I mean, to give you an idea, like, you know, taking the cylinder heads off the pan, the rods, the bearings and everything like that, it's done in probably 20 minutes. You know, these mechanics are top notch, they're all dedicated, they all love what they're doing, they take it on, they dream and sleep about it, what can we do to make this thing faster? They practice, 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 and like, look at, you know, the results now. They've only been back 10 minutes, the whole thing's apart. We have probably 10 on the team, and they're just all working feverishly, trying to make this thing happen and just turn this car around, because the rules are 70 minutes, and you have to be ready to turn this car around and be back out there again. So it's exciting stuff.
While the pit crew tear the engine down and start the rebuilding process, Todd analyzes the computer data from his first qualifying run.
We've got a data logger up here which records everything. We've got exhaust gas temperatures, we've got pressures, we've got a G meter that's all fed into it. And then at the end of the run, we'll come back and we'll download all that. Basically, all this tells us is, you know, what happened and when it happened. What we'll look for usually is how quickly the cylinder temperatures rise and to what range they'll go at. A very common problem for these cars is at about half track, they'll start to drop cylinders. When they do that, of course, they're no longer producing horsepower and you lose 800 horsepower, 700 or 800 horsepower if one of those goes out.
Once the dragster is reassembled with fresh engine components, the team will only have a couple of minutes to fire the engine and check for leaks.
Bypass the mags. Or bypass the box, go straight to mag.
Unable to get the dragster's engine to fire, the crew decides to bypass the electronic ignition system and instead fire the dragster with a manual starter.
It's this controller box then, I guess. Dad? See if you can get a controller box from somebody.
The starter box appears to be defective. They can't get the massive V8 engine to crank, and time is quickly running out. If they miss the next qualifier, they'll have to hope that their existing qualifying time holds up and remains fast enough to keep them in tomorrow's elimination finals.
New one.
Okay.
Not charged or anything, I don't think.
What do you mean not charged?
But just out of the box.
Well, that's fine. This is the charging here. That's the battery source. Go ahead and hook it up. Hook it up for him, Mark.
The Peyton pit crew quickly installs a new starter box and test fires the dragster. Now they have just enough time to do a final visual inspection and get out to the staging area.
everyone on the crew just has a real passion for the sport, and I trust them with my life, and together at the end of the day we have a good time. We go out there, we'll win a few rounds of racing. They all have a sense of accomplishment at the end of the day.
With the ever-present threat of rain, combined with today's technical challenges, the Peyton pit crew is tense.
I'm feeling quite apprehensive because the weather's starting to close in. It's looking like rain, and I'm very concerned about that. If we don't get this run in, it is a concern, because somebody who might get the run in would qualify ahead of us. So we'll just have to see what happens, but it's closing in pretty quickly.
Top fuel drag racing is a sport that can deliver both heart-pounding exhilaration and heart-breaking frustration in just mere seconds. There is no thrill on earth that can compare with the rush of launching from a standing start to 300 miles per hour in under 5 seconds. But there is nothing quite as frustrating as watching hundreds of hours of preparation going down the drain when a car malfunctions on the drag strip. The Peyton Dragster is running well, and the entire drag racing team is now ready for their second qualifying run. The team is not happy. Their official time is a quarter of a second slower than their first. And there's more bad news. During the run, flames could be seen shooting from the rear of the dragster. Though their first qualifying time is fast enough to keep them in tomorrow's top 8 elimination round, a fire in the engine compartment means the team has a serious mechanical problem on their hands and a long night of work ahead of them.
Just prior to that run in the final warm-up, there was an issue with the ignition system. The car had a little difficulty starting, and even though the numbers and pressures looked right when we staged, it looks like it may have hurt the motor. It got probably to about 300 or 400 feet, and the car just didn't feel like it was pulling as hard as it should have. I gave it another second or so, and it felt like it was losing power. So I just clicked off, and when we got down there, there was a small fire in the shutdown area. We got a few pieces that burned a little bit, so the crew's working hard on it, and with the rain that hit just as soon as we made the turnaround at the far end of the track, unfortunately, it'll be a late night for them. They'll be working throughout the night, and come first thing in the morning, hopefully it's dry, hopefully the new motor's put in the car, and we'll be good to go.
It is race day at the Toronto Motorsport Park, and though the weather has cleared during the night, the day's forecast calls for more rain. After spending the entire evening repairing and rebuilding the dragster's engine, the Peyton pit crew prepares for their first elimination race.
We knew we had a problem with the motor, and it looks like now we had an ignition system malfunction. At about half track, one of the cylinders stopped firing, and after a couple of revolutions with a full fuel load in it, it finally hydrauliced and threw a connecting rod out the side of the block. So we kind of got some of the components here. This used to be a full-on Hemi connecting rod at one point in time, and one of the pistons in the number 5 hole is now gone. So we've got a brand new motor in there that the crew's been working on preparing. When it comes to nitro racing and drag racing in general, you got to have all your spare parts ready to go because you never know when they'll be pressed into service. So we're getting pretty close to starting the motor up for the first time. Going to check over the new ignition system, all the new cables and everything that's been installed.
After completing their overnight rebuild, the Peyton pit crew is once again ready to fire up the dragster. It's imperative they troubleshoot the engine before they head over to the staging area. Although the Peyton dragster is running smoothly, the pit crew quickly discovers that the ignition timing is off. As an engine's piston goes through its 4-stroke cycle, timing refers to a preset moment when the spark plugs are set to ignite the fuel mixture. This set point can be changed by a matter of degrees. If the timing is off, it will dramatically affect the engine's ability to generate power. Under normal circumstances, this is a minor adjustment, but time is quickly running out.
Okay, we'll go to nitro.
While struggling to get the timing just right, the crew notices that there is a small oil leak at the rear of the engine. An oil leak indicates that a major gasket seal in the engine's crankcase has not set properly during the overnight rebuild. If it's not replaced, the pressure inside the engine will force the oil to spray out all over the dragster's wheels during the run, and that could be disastrous.
Okay, how are we going to fix that oil leak?
After we run, and if it's still leaking, we're going to pull the fan down, drain the oil, pull the fan down, check the rear main.
Okay, do you have another seal?
Oh yeah.
Go grab one and get it ready.
Yeah, I got a pile of them.
We don't have a lot of time, guys.
By the time you guys get the fuel and all that stuff done, I'll have that done.
All right, that'll be 10 minutes.
The team decides to fire the engine once more to make sure the timing is right before attempting to fix the oil leak.
Good. Excellent work, guys. Awesome job.
Now we got oil coming.
On the schedule, we should be in the lanes, but they've had a delay, so that's going to work to our favor.
The Peyton team kicks into high gear, determined to use the delay in the schedule to their advantage and get the engine's crankcase seal replaced with a new one.
After the warm-up, the crew dropped the oil pan, pulled down the rear main, and replaced the seal in there on the crankshaft, put it back up. It took them about 3.5 minutes to accomplish that.
As race time approaches, the pit crew note that the rain clouds have returned.
It was unbelievable the change from last night to this morning. We woke up to sunshine and what was clear skies at the time, but as we come closer to actually going up to the starting line now, we see that there's significant weather moving into the area. There's some pretty sizable black clouds coming in.
Just go up front and get them.
Yeah, bring him in.
I'll bring them into the beams. You get the throttle stuff.
I got that.
You got the throttle stuff.
Never know what a bug will do to you at 300 miles an hour. They get really long.
So Mark said just 3 of us then? I'll run and jump in the back. I won't take a spot again. Never know, good at this.
The Peyton Racing team must now focus on their first elimination race. For round one, they're up against reigning IHRA Top Fuel points leader, Doug Foley.
Well, the Foley character. I don't know, these guys came out to dominate this year. They put a 2-car team together and they're running strong, both of them. So I don't know, we'll see what happens. I mean, maybe he'll overpower and maybe he won't. We'll see what goes on.
Right now we're first in points over Clay Milliken. We hope to keep getting points the last 3 races and win the championship.
Todd Payton qualified, but he's drawn Doug Foley in the first round. He's actually never lost a round of competition at Toronto Motorsports Park. So Todd's got, he's got the odds stacked up against him, but anything can happen on Sunday. If you don't bring your A game, you might be packing up the trailer and going home pretty quick.
Doug started driving probably about 3 years ago in the Top Fuel class. He actually runs a drag racing school, and he's progressed through the ranks. Obviously, to be leading the points, and I believe this will be his third full season. His team and his crew and himself as a driver, they've all done an excellent job. But just like anybody else, we go to the starting line. It's one guy, one car, 16 spark plugs, 5 discs, and a whole lot of nitro. We'll go up there and see who's the first one across the finish line.
Finally, after more than 24 hours of back-breaking work, it's time for the new dragster's first elimination race.
We're hurrying, don't worry.
What the
I don't know. Retarded.
Nothing's changed.
It's flooded. It's flooded. I can smell it from here.
Where's ignition gear? Mark, get here.
Mark,
No.
what goes here? What do we got?
Nothing. Everything's there. Exactly how it's supposed to be.
Warm-up. Hook it back up. Hook it back up the way we had it.
Except the furnace is broken.
What?
Why are we hooking it back up? Just go straight to mags. Why are we doing that? Just run it on mags.
Go direct, go straight to mag.
Jesus Christ.
What else, boys? What else? I mean, this thing's got nothing.
No! Come here, Donnie! Donnie! Right here! Why? He didn't stay!
If a dragster has difficulty starting in the staging area, then the IHRA officials will disqualify the entry. The waiting competitor will then be awarded an uncontested win. The Payton team can't get the dragster to start. Doug Foley has finished his burnout and is ready to stage for the head-to-head elimination. The IHRA officials have no choice but to disqualify the Payton team. Doug Foley will be awarded an uncontested win.
Okay, let's go, boys. No sense being up here any longer.
Cut it hard, Todd.
We had an ignition problem. The car didn't light right away, and we saw that up there. We still had enough time. We were in the process of bypassing the mags, and the rules are, until that car has staged, we have everything within our power we can do to get up there so we don't inconvenience the other driver. And our plan was simply to bypass the magnetos and go up there and roll in and stage. But the fact of the matter is, he just idled down the track and collected an easy win, uncontested. It doesn't look good for the sanctioning body. It really offends us, because everyone's seen what's gone on here in the last 24 hours. These guys have put their heart and soul into it. They put a brand new motor in it. The thing was working great, and to have it end this way, it's just not fair to them. They're going to stand by their decision. I went up there and I had just a brief conversation with the official. I said, I understand. I said, you do what you got to do. I said, I'm just up here to spectate, but I just had to get out of the car. I had too much pent up emotion, and it's better for me to walk back than, I'm old enough I don't have temper tantrums anymore, but it's still, it gets you all wound up. I had all the intention in the world, all the adrenaline that goes through your system, and you know, you gotta have a vent for it. It's just a bad call, I think, by the officials, and we'll be going and having some meetings, I think, with a few of them. There's always another drag race, and it'll come around. If that's the way Foley had to beat us, that's the way he beat us.
Well, I'm very disappointed. I really wish we had gotten a chance to run the other car. We had a score that we needed to even there, and we really don't know what the problem is, but we think if we were given a little more time, we could have started the car and made a competitive run.
I don't know, right now our future's kind of up in the air. You know, we're at the end of our sponsorship program with the Tim Hortons folks and the Nitro Moose folks. We've got a couple irons in the fire, but whether anything else will materialize by the end of the season, I don't honestly know. If money shows up in the bank account, we'll go back out and race.
There will be another race day. That's how the best way to deal with it. We'd like to do way better than we did, but there will be another time.
These boys.
Our objective for this weekend is to win. Now we've got the fastest lap of the race. The forecast is for a lot of rain, so biggest concern is the weather, I think, this weekend.
The margin for error in the wet is very narrow.
Motorcycle road racing is one of the most exciting and dangerous motorsports. In Canada, there are two premier classes of competition. A 360-pound superbike with its slick tires and 180 horsepower four-stroke engine will launch a rider down a straightaway to speeds of over 180 miles per hour. While a lighter 600cc sport bike with its 125 horsepower limit will practically match a superbike's lap time on a tighter, twisty track. Professional Motorsports Productions organizes one of the biggest professional motorcycle road racing series in North America. And the Hindle 600 Sport Bike and Parts Canada Superbike Championship are televised nationally in high-definition TV. Team Suzuki is definitely one of the big dogs on the Parts Canada Tour. And the Blackfoot Racing Pit Crew is the team behind the scenes that keeps all those blue and white Suzukis running. This weekend, 2 hours east of Toronto, Ontario, at Shannonville Motorsport Park, racing director Joe Skid will oversee a 5-man pit crew as they prepare both the superbikes and the sport bikes for Team Suzuki riders Francis Martin and Clint McBain. This is the final race of the season, and both Francis Martin, who is the defending Superbike champion, and Clint McBain, who finished second in the 600 sport bike class last year, want to finish this season on a positive note and show their boss that they're worth re-signing for next summer. A feat Clint McBain acknowledges can't be achieved without the help of his pit crew.
I'd always played team sports my whole life, and I got into this because I wanted to do something individual. I thought this was it. Motorcycle racing is what it is. It's just man and motorcycle, and that's it, man. It didn't take me long to realize that you need a good team behind it.
The Blackfoot Pit Crew is made up of 4 specialized motorcycle technicians. This weekend, it'll be up to Jeff Mason to mechanically maintain both Clint's primary 600 sport bike and his backup machine.
Jeff does everything, almost. Anything that needs to be done, Jeff will do it.
Darren Marshall with the Blackwood Suzuki team. I guess my official title would be crew chief for Clint McBain. It was my first year with the team in a sort of a full-time capacity.
This pit crew keeps 9 motorcycles in race-ready condition throughout the 7-round series. Over on the bench next to Jeff, veteran mechanic Pete Snell is responsible for both of Clint's 1000cc superbikes.
Pete and Darren, both those guys have years and years of experience. It's good for me. I have a lot of confidence in them just with all the years of experience, and we seem to communicate well, which is so important. That's probably the most important thing with the rider and the crew, is being able to communicate. As long as I can tell them what the bike is doing on the racetrack, they know how to fix it.
Past the bump at 2 inches, coasting. Coordinating the entire operation in the Blackfoot pits is the team's racing director. Joe Skid brings over 20 years of motorcycle racing experience to the team. His specialty is suspension tuning.
Joe Skid, who's the suspension guru on our team, he oversees everything. For suspension-wise, and both Francis and myself, and he's got so much knowledge there in him alone, and it's good to have that, because I can just focus on my riding.
Generally, a good team has crew members that all get along pretty well, and we share information pretty freely. The riders get along well. We get along well with the riders. It's pretty good team chemistry on this team.
Yeah, just that last lap, I tried to push it in there pretty hard.
Superbike is limited to 180 rear wheel horsepower at the end of the race and 370-ish pounds. 600s are limited to 125 rear wheel horsepower and a little bit lighter. We can run slick tires. The 600s have to run the DOTs, the treaded tires, the same as you'd use on the street. Pretty much every track, the Superbike will be faster. At some tracks, the difference is very small, only maybe half a second or so. Here, we expect about a 2-second or so difference between a Superbike time and a 600 time.
From a rider standpoint, the biggest thing is the power delivery. Weight is not a significant difference between the two motorcycles. Power is the biggest thing, and you also applying that power and then trying to harness that power.
Clint McBain is a veteran road racer whose consistent style of racing has made him a perennial favorite amongst road racing fans. As a former national 600 sport bike champion, this is the class where Clint's talent really shines. Heading into this final round, Clint is tied with American rider Tom Kipp for 3rd place in the 600 division points. Yesterday, Clint qualified 6th fastest in a field of 32 riders. Tomorrow, he'll start on the 2nd row for the 600 final. Over the past decade, the 1000cc superbikes have become almost as light as the 600 sport bikes. Thanks to their larger engine displacement, they produce 55 more horsepower. This year, Clint has struggled to get that extra power under control. Heading into this weekend, he sits in 8th place in the Superbike points after posting 2 DNFs or did not finish at earlier rounds. Yesterday, he qualified 3rd for tomorrow's final.
Today we have a few ideas to try to improve the setup, and depending on what we get for weather, our objectives may change. If we have a dry practice, we'll continue to work on our dry setup. If it starts to rain, then we'll definitely start to focus on a race setup for rain.
Biggest concern is the weather, I think, this weekend. I suppose the forecast is for a lot of rain, so we're kind of waiting and seeing. It's dark, it's black, but you don't really know until it happens.
Despite yesterday's near-perfect weather conditions, the threat of high winds and heavy rain for today forced organizers to hold traditional Saturday qualifying late yesterday afternoon.
We're just setting up our pit road setup so that when we can come out for a practice, we'll have all our tools and equipment ready to go, and we should have a smooth and seamless practice. Just wrapping the front tire, put a warmer on, get the tire hot before practice. Got some straps on the side, some
wrap them about an hour before practice, tie them in, and then warms the tire. Tires when they're cold are really slippery, so they need to be up to operating temperature, so it just allows the rider to get out and do fast laps sooner, so you don't waste as much time. It also brings the pressure up in the tire.
With the pressure of qualifying out of the way, this morning the team will use the remaining practice sessions to experiment with different suspension setups, as they anticipate they'll have to race in the rain tomorrow.
That would have been a better lap, but that feels okay. Okay. Pretty good. I get over the bumps. It feels good over the bumps, but I ran a bit wider to kind of square that corner off, and it's still, I get him that dark, and it just doesn't want to bite the front. Like, it just kind of, I want to keep pulling it back.
This morning, Clint reports back that the front suspension on his 600 sport bike is not quite dialed in, and asked Darren to try a different setting on the front fork.
It's like Christmas, Clint. You're getting a brand new rear tire. Holy.
So take this one out, all right? There's some preload. Go do a couple laps, come in, like do a little pressure for the last session out, see if that does anything. Yep. Okay. So I just took 2 laps of preload out. Yep.
Setting up the suspension, getting a race bike to handle, is a very complex task. Finding the fine balance between stability versus agility at any given racetrack can take a rider and his tuner dozens of laps.
Good job. The changes we made were to try and improve the front end over the bumps. At the end of the day, we ended up being about 4/10 quicker than we were yesterday, so pretty significant. Our 600 practice this morning. It's quite successful. Last night we had some issues that we wanted to work on the front feeling of the fork, as well as some of the rider lines and some of the turns. So we discussed some of those things last night. The rider made some improvements, and we made some improvements this morning in the session for 600. Now we're looking to apply those to Superbike, try and find a few tenths there that we're missing. I think we're in a good position. The bike felt really good yesterday in Superbike qualifying. We were third. We're looking this morning to find a few tenths, get a really comfortable race setup for tomorrow's session.
Out on the Shannonville circuit, Clint puts his Superbike through the paces. The goal is to find out if the changes applied following the 600 practice help to improve the Superbike's lap times.
Where is the tree? I don't know, I'm trying to keep it out of my head. But it feels like when I'm under hard braking, it feels like you can feel the tire.
Well, we did drop some pressure, so maybe.
Like it just,
we'll put the
it
pressure
doesn't
back.
feel that there's just something missing, nice and smooth transition from here to here.
Yeah, okay, we'll put it back up.
Back in the hot pits, the crew decides to adjust the tire pressure on the Superbike.
Okay, so we're gonna want to do 6 laps. 6-7 laps. Get down. I mean, no reason you should be able to get down to your time you had. Everything's good. Okay. Now come in. We'll swap that shock. We need, 5-6 minutes to do that. So you probably get 5 to 6 times laps. Okay.
There are 20 minutes left in the session. Clint heads back out to evaluate the Superbike's front-end response. With the increased tire pressure, it should make the transitions in the corners a little quicker. During the practice session, the team continues to dial in the suspension. After only a couple of hot laps, Clint pulls in and the team goes to work, swapping out the rear shock for a new one.
Great job, guys.
Coming through the chicane there, remember I said it's rough here? Yesterday I wasn't getting upset there with this, or even this morning. With the softer, I feel like it starts to skip over the bumps. Hits the first one and then
Wasn't doing that yesterday? Wasn't doing that yesterday?
wasn't doing that this morning either with the other shock.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
The session that we were just out in, we tried a new setting on our shock, the rear shock, to try and get the tire to behave a little bit differently, and it helped a little, but not quite what we were looking for. So I'm going to pull the shock absorber back out. We're going to make a couple changes to it, put it back in, and try it again this afternoon.
After lunch, the team must be ready for the next 2 practice sessions. But the local weather office is predicting that the afternoon's weather conditions will be very different from this morning. The team takes a break while race director Joe Skid holds a meeting about tires. For the past 3 years, Clint and the Blackfoot team have raced on Dunlops, so the switch this season to Pirelli rubber has created a steep learning curve. With no rain yet, the team decides to start the next practice session on their dry-rated tires. But if the rain arrives, they'll have to switch to the new intermediate tire, a tire that they've been unable to test so far this season.
They've come with what they're calling an intermediate tire, which is a very hard compound rain tire. And unfortunately, there's a very limited quantity of them. So as of yet, nobody in the paddock has been on this tire. So with a very limited number of tires and a very wide range of conditions that might apply to that tire, we have to get a lot of information from very few laps on the racetrack. The track is definitely too wet to run around on slicks and too dry to run around on full wets. An intermediate condition.
That's 10 minutes before the final practice session for 600 on Saturday, so we're just going to head out. We have a pretty good baseline setting from this morning, so now we have one different tire solution that we want to try on the front, just to try again to increase the rider feedback from the front tire.
The team starts the practice session on a set of tires designed for the dry track. The shallow tread grooves will give Clint the grip he needs, but those same tires will be virtually unrideable if the rain starts to fall. Practice session, the rain begins to fall. Clint immediately heads for the pits.
I know. Anyway, so we're just gonna stick that front on and last 6 minutes, 7 minutes. If it's wet enough, we'll just see what it feels like.
Back in the hot pits, the crew mount the new intermediate tire. Its hard, deep groove design makes it ideal for the changing weather conditions. The team grabs the opportunity to try some hot laps on the untested rubber. They're almost certain that this is the tire setup they'll need for tomorrow's final.
We started the last session when it was dry, it started to sprinkle, then it rained, and it was a short session. So we had 20 minutes to start with. At the 12-minute mark, we chose to switch to rain tires. By the time we were done with the tire change, track condition was quite wet, perfect timing, and Clint got 8 minutes of wet practice in. He was right there with Tom Kipp at the end, so yeah, good session.
As the steady rain continues, the team moves on to prepare for the afternoon Superbike practice session.
We have one more session left in the day, and it's a Superbike session, and what's going to take place in that depends moment by moment on the weather. At this moment, we'll be looking at this intermediate tire, and we have a strategy in place so both riders can look at this tire under these conditions without wasting all of the tires that we have.
Although the team has a set of full-on rain tires at their disposal, they decide to try a few hot laps with the new intermediate tire.
We're gonna make some changes. I can't even get on the gas one. I tried. I wasn't even gonna
I thought I heard the F word. What's going on? Clint appeared not to be too happy, but there's no such thing as a happy rider. They're always looking for more, and that's good. That's why we hire him. He wants to go faster. Goes right off.
The pit crew makes a quick adjustment to the Suzuki's rear shock in an effort to give Clint more grip.
Like it's not sticking over its side, it's not. You go through the corner. It's doing this the whole time.
It just doesn't transfer any sort of weight at all. The margin for error in the wet is very narrow. But if it's a big margin in the dry, it's narrow in the wet for sure. And that's always alarming. Nobody wants to fall down.
My nephew Corey. You want to lower it down to the mill?
Can't hurt.
Yeah, we're just going to take a Miller ride height up.
Still chasing the grip or stick Clint needs, the team continues to adjust the suspension, this time lowering the bike.
You get a couple of laps anyway.
Session, it was okay, we're going in the right direction.
Every lap counted. We made changes up to the 2-minute mark, and the last change that we made, he went better. Got more room to explore. So it's just the balance of the motorcycle. It's not so different than what we're looking for in the dry. It's just that it's a different balance for the wet than it is for the dry, and we're getting closer. Let's say it was very productive. Definitely continue to learn, as our objective was coming into the weekend. Time well spent.
It's race day Sunday. Despite the falling rain and cold temperatures, the Blackfoot pit crew is in high spirits. The team now has only 2 scheduled practice sessions before the afternoon championship finals. First up this morning, the 600 sport bike practice.
It's 10 minutes to practice time, and weather's beautiful, as you can see. Lots of water on the track, so bike's ready, sitting here on tire warmers, and we're gonna go out and try to keep the bike upright. We lowered the rear, a little different gearing. Tire's smaller on the reins, so we had to change the gearing accordingly. And basically we'll try like this and see how he likes it. Working under these conditions is a little more challenging. You kind of never know what to expect. Bikes get real dirty, so you always got to clean everything, and just nasty weather makes it a little more difficult.
Your rider's on his way.
There aren't many road racers who like riding in the rain. A famous racer once said, racing a motorcycle in the rain is like trying to balance your bike on a beach ball. The pit crew needs the final suspension setup on Clint's 600 machine to give him the confidence he needs to win today in the rain.
600 practice this morning went real well. He made a gearing change this morning that seems to be working. He likes it a lot better. Practice to start near the end there, and the clutch is working good, so we should be able to have a good start. From now, we just kind of do a little maintenance and get tires on it and watch the weather.
The 600 actually feels pretty good. I was just putting in some laps, getting the feel for it. It feels pretty good. There's more to be had, but again, it's morning warm-up. There's only a couple hours between that one and the race, so it's not time for anyone to do anything stupid and go out there and push too hard. As long as I got a good feel, and we'll save all the little extra chances for the race and see what happens. I think we're sitting pretty good. Their only downfalls are starting position on the second row, but get a good start, we'll be out front.
With the 600 practice wrapped up, the crew now focuses on today's only superbike session. Last night, following practice, Joe discovered the preload on the rear shock on Clint's superbike had been set incorrectly. He suspects this could have been the cause of Clint's poor traction yesterday.
After I left last night, the boys discovered that the shock would only go so short. And so this morning was a bit of a surprise to come in and find out that they needed the shock taken apart and spacers added to it. Basically, the shock can now go shorter than it did before, allowing more weight on the rear of the motorcycle to try and help him with the grip issues that he had yesterday in the wet.
I'm glad that we found quite an error, really, with the shock or a big change for today, because we weren't really in the game yesterday. So this is a good thing, as long as it's in the right direction, which I'm sure it is. So it should be good. It should be a lot better. It can't be any worse.
Sets out to see if the corrections Joe has made to the rear shock will improve the bike's traction.
Comes on like a light switch. I spin there, I spin every lap out of the hairpin. At 7-8, and I'm just not even time for correction.
In the wet stuff, you tend to drop down a lot further in the RPM range, and the small throttle openings are a lot more critical. So we discovered we had a little hitch where when he's rolling on the throttle, he got nothing at first and then a bunch, which makes it really hard to ride.
When a racetrack is wet, controlling 180 horsepower with your throttle hand is an art. Brute power equals wheel spin. Wheel spin slows you down. Darren has been instructed to soften the power delivery on Clint's Superbike by reprogramming the engine's EMS, or Engine Management System. He writes a new power delivery map on his laptop. Then he quickly transfers the new engine management instructions to the Superbike's onboard computer.
So try that while you're out. I'll make another one another step down.
Red flag, red flag.
Yeah, they just red flag and stop us down, watching the progress on
It affected the right arm to throttle. It's just getting on. It's a little, but it still comes hard 8, 9, 10. Like it could just be, it still comes on up to 7, 8.
Well, now it's going, yeah. So, okay, so I'm going to just, so for the next session, I'm going to just do that for the whole map.
The power delivery is getting better. At low RPM, the bike's rear wheel is not spinning as much. Darren applies the mapping changes to the engine's entire power band.
But there was 8 minutes left in the session when it went red.
Ryan decides 5 minutes.
We need 8 minutes.
There was 8, but we're running a tight schedule, so that's
we need 8 minutes. That's. We had a red flag. It wasn't anything drastic, but they took 3 minutes of our already short session away from us. When I went to the organizer to see, why, they just said they're running a tight schedule, which 3 minutes isn't going to make or break. 3 minutes is something you can make up at lunch. 3 minutes is a huge percentage of our Superbike warm-up time. I needed 3 minutes.
While Clint sets out to learn how the mapping changes affect the bike, Joe returns from his meeting with the officials.
What a joke. What a joke. 8 minutes when the red flag goes out. Well, we're going to go to 5. I said, come on, wait. And then they said, no, we've decided it's going to be 5. I said, why do you guys even have a schedule? Why do you even set times for practice? Why don't you just say, we're going to go out and see what happens? Why don't you just say that? Because that's what's happening. Just make me sick. What a joke.
we were working with fuel injection and timing maps with Clint, and you know, 3 minutes is, he can get 4 laps, or he can get 3 laps in 3 minutes if the clock goes right. So 3 laps is a lot of time for him to learn things under these conditions. Anyway, it ended up being what it ended up being. He did find some speed, but he might have found more if he had another 3 minutes.
Well, that Superbike session, it went a little bit better than yesterday, but not a lot. We still can't get the power to the ground. No traction, really, and I think our power delivery from our bike is just not where we need it to be in the rain, because you need it to be really smooth and predictable, and right now it's not. As soon as it starts to really get into the power, it just comes on too hard. It's too hard to control, and it just breaks the tire loose, and people are just driving away from me off the corners, which unfortunately in this game you can't have that, otherwise it's not going to do very well. So they're working on it. If the bike's a little better, we should be okay.
The National 600 final is slated for 2 p.m. The Superbike final, 3:30. And despite the cold and rainy weather, the die-hard road racing fans are already arriving at the Shannonville Speedway. As the 600 Sport Bike Final draws closer, some 1,000 miles away, a tropical storm moving along the eastern seaboard continues to affect the weather at the racetrack.
It's race time. We have the bike that we have, and he's pretty comfortable on it. I think we get a good start. We qualified a little back. We're in 6th in this starting line. Just get a good start. Run up front. We have the pace to run up front. Go, put on top of the box.
Out on the track for the 600 final, Clint and the rest of the 32-rider field head out for a sighting lap. This pre-race tour around the circuit allows the competitors to warm their tires, as well as take a final look at the racing surface. Lining up on the starting grid, Clint and his teammate Francis Martin are side by side on the second row. As the race goes green, Martin gets a solid start. Heading into corner 2, he's in 5th position, while Clint hangs back cautiously in 7th place. As the race unfolds, Clint is struggling with the wet conditions, and after only a couple of laps, he's fallen back to 13th position. The race reaches midpoint. The frontrunners have a considerable lead over the rest of the field. Number 34, Kevin Lacombe, leads the way, and Francis Martin is now solidly in 3rd. The splashback from large pools of standing water on the track's surface dramatically decrease visibility for following riders. A split-second lack of concentration can easily result in a spill.
Someone went down.
With 3/4 of the race complete, Clint has settled down into a comfortable groove. He's now in 8th. Meanwhile, Clint's teammate is in the midst of a furious 3-way battle for the 2nd spot. Clint McBain rarely finishes a 600 race outside of the top 5. The crew's disappointment is obvious. At the checkered flag, number 21, Pascal Picot, takes the win. His teammate, number 34, Kevin Lacombe, follows him for 2nd, while Clint's Blackfoot teammate, number 16, Francis Martin, takes the final spot on the roster.
traction. He said, just finished a 600 race. It was wet, very wet. Finished 8th, not as good as we would have hoped, but that's racing. Just lacking traction today, just spinning everywhere.
Well, I think Clint's probably a little disappointed. You know, this is not the way he wants to end the season at all. You know, at the start of the season, we were in the hunt for the title. So for sure he's disappointed, but same sort of thing coming into this race we've got our eye on next year also. So yeah, for sure we're going to take what we've learned today and apply it to next year and hopefully be that much more competitive in the wet next year.
With the post-race television interviews and grandstand trophy presentations complete, Francis returns to the pit with his son modestly displaying his third-place trophy. Clint clearly is disappointed with his poor result.
We've been struggling in the wet. We have haven't had traction all weekend, and it got a little better this morning. But I think we kind of got misled in the fact that there wasn't as much water on the track, so it was also better for everybody. And then here, we can't get any traction. It doesn't. And without the traction, I don't go anywhere. There's proof right there. I didn't go anywhere. That's probably the worst finish we've had in a 600 for me in years.
That's racing. Anything can happen. So it gets worse than that. So take with the good with the bad and move forward. We're going to take some of the information we learned on the 600 race and try to work towards maybe a different setup on the Superbike.
With 30 minutes until the rollout for the National Superbike Final, the crew turns their attention to prepping the Superbikes.
We hopefully are going to get over to try to run the bike on the dyno to check our new engine map, but we may not get a chance to do that. So we'll have to just keep our fingers crossed and hope we did the right thing. The dyno is a DynoJet rear wheel dynamometer for these bikes, and after the end of every qualifying session and the end of every race, they put the bikes on them, and for the super bikes we have to be less than 180 rear wheel horsepower. So if we're over that, then there's penalties or disqualification, so we need to be under that. That's one of the ways they try to put a control on the costs for engine development. Well, looks like there's finally somebody at the dyno.
Just prior to the race, the crew heads to the official series dyno to test the effect the mapping changes have had on the Superbike's overall horsepower.
Worthwhile. Darren made a new map for the bike, a new map for the ECU that's been put in. It should be a little gentler in the lower gears, which should make it a little easier to control the wheel spin, which is one of the things we've been having problems with, because the power curve's been a little too spiky at the spot that he's getting onto the gas. So that'll hopefully make this a little nicer ride than he had on the 600. Pretty sure we're going to do pretty well.
Qualified third for this race, so we're starting in the front row. Some of the stuff that we learned from our 600 experience, we've gone back and talked about some things, and we're going to try a small adjustment for the race.
Here's some fun with these boys.
Gets a great start from the front row, but heading into corner one, he nearly crashes when his back tire loses traction. As Clint drops back to 7th, his teammate takes the lead.
Back straight away, Francis is in P1.
Clint remains in 7th place, sandwiched between two green Kawasaki's. On lap 5, Francis takes a corner too wide and opens the door to give the lead to number 34, Kevin Lacombe. As the race winds down, the rain stops, and Clint ironically records the overall fastest lap time. But it's not enough to improve his position.
Now he has the fastest lap of the race. Can we start again?
Meanwhile, trapped between two Yamahas, Francis is holding second spot heading into the last lap. At the checkered flag, number 34, Kevin Lacombe, finished first. Francis Martin took a close second, while Clint McBain finished a disappointing seventh.
Superbike race for Clint. He actually got a great jump off of the start. Went around the first corner quite comfortably in third, and pretty much middle of the first corner and into the second corner we ran into the same lack of grip problems that we've been experiencing. So right away in between first and second corner he started going backwards, because anytime he'd come onto the throttle to try to go forward he'd spin and actually go backwards. So by the end of lap one he had gone back as far as 7th. He actually learned some things during the race. At one point, with 1 lap to go, I think he had done the fastest lap of the race, actually. So, same sort of theme like we kept all weekend, is that this isn't always just about today, it's also about just learning in general.
We did give him a good enough setup that he had the fastest lap of the race, but apparently it wasn't good enough that he could keep consistently doing laps of speed. That caused him a lot of problems.
I'd say overall the weekend was good. I'm certainly thrilled that we didn't damage any equipment. We didn't have any failures or anything like that. Motorcycle is a pretty complex piece of equipment, and there's a lot of things that go on in the course of a weekend, and the fact that it all went safe and sound this weekend is always great. It's always it's good when the guys come home safe at the end of the race.
We're feeling good for those guys on that side of the team. We're a little down on our side just because of what happened, but it's not like it's a horrific result. It's just not what we were hoping for. So we can just regroup and have some good information for next year. Sometimes you're the big dog, sometimes you're the hydrant. So this time we're a hydrant.
We learned a lot, we gelled well as a group, and if we stick together, we'll only be stronger next year. And work for next year starts the day after tomorrow. And we look forward to sinking our teeth into it.